Welcome to the grim, lawless 23rd century, following the fall of U.S. Gov and mass depopulation of major cities at the hands of the multi-trillionaire de Huberton family. Baptized in radioactive hellfire, a rare mutation makes Turbo a fiercely pumped scrapper, haunted by specters from her past, surviving the post-apocalyptic wasteland one deathmatch pit fight at a time. But when she rescues the stunning trophy girl, the unlikely duo are thrust into a harrowing odyssey, evading marauding berserkers at every turn on their way to the ultimate showdown as they uncover the horrific truth behind the fall of humanity.
Good morning, Jake.
Good morning, Kurt. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Making Turbo Pit Fighter. I'm Jake, and Kurt's here. Kurt, you look like you have a tiny little comic there.
Woo-hoo-hoo, baby! Now I'm just going to pull the Band-Aid off. When you were doing your unboxing of your copies, and you realized that we did not give credit to like a good bold statement saying the art by Ken Landgraf, I had made the adjustment. This is my proof. Before I had made the adjustment, okay, had that file, I then went to bed. I got up the next morning, became completely frustrated with Kablam, and forgot to replace that page in our original link. So I have a copy without proper credit, but I have changed the file. So if I do a Lulu or Kablam print run, then that'll definitely have been made adjusted.
Well, you just got a one-off though, right?
I just got a one-off. Yeah, I did not.
No big deal.
That was, yeah. I mean, it was just so like, I was like, yes. And I flipped it open and I was like, what the fuck? Oh my God damn.
So Kurt has the cover with Turbo Pit Fighter. This is a painting or a colored artwork that he did. Mine has the other side on the front, and I have his artwork with a virgin cover. It doesn't have any text on it.
Yeah. So
if anybody sees these in the wild, that's the difference. So it looks like your paper is a little bit floppy. What kind of paper?
This is look. Right out of the gate, I only have one critique. I made black plates. In other words, there was no color in them. I strip. Right. When I do my PDF pre-flight run, and I do it either for CMYK printing, which is the covers, or the inside, which is black and white. I strip any kind of recognition of color. It's just a black plate. And I'm going to send an email to. But I know what they're going to say is because they're running it through a color machine. It's not going to represent the black and white.
Yeah, that's what.
Flat. Did it do it to you? Yours is black and white though. I'm looking at it. Look, I mean, right?
Yeah, grayscale. Yours is definitely cool gray. Mine is definitely warm gray.
Yeah.
I don't know what the difference is. It also looks like if you open up the page inside front cover, it looks like they're trimming the artwork really close to the edge compared to mine, where it has a little margin going around.
Yeah, that was as I was saying earlier. Not only did I have to kind of like square one learn how to upload. Now, aside from the comic itself, which is I'm very, very happy with. They make you pay for the books ahead of time, and then you upload your files. Now, I don't like that at all, because what happened was, I wasn't able to inspect. Like Lulu gives you a preview. It's like a flip book. So it'll show you the cover, The back, not. You'll show you the cover. It'll show you the first page, and then you can flip through, and then you see the back cover. But they even had a weird anomaly where they didn't show sequentially the cover and front. It was just it. Both of these systems were just very non-intuitive and also convoluted to the point where you really don't. You've got to be totally set on the file that you're submitting to them, like 100%. If not, then some anomaly is going to come back. Now, most of them do what's called a PDF registration, so it's going to make sure that every single page is the same size with the trim and the bleed. But it was a week of well, it was a whole entire day and a half with Kablam, of frustration. And then, they send you a follow-up email that, like, once you've uploaded the file, it just says thank you. The next time you hear from us, we'll be shipping your book.
Right.
And then the other thing was, you did have like an order status in the dashboard on Kablam for your account. But and that was okay. But it was just a bit lackluster. I also kind of compare them to Mixum, which I have fallen out of love with Mixum, just to be like, transparent here, because it's just like, I don't like their paper quality, and I don't like how they categorize the papers as you're going through and select. Yeah, it's just, and bless you, and you can't order one copy. You have to order a base of 25.
I hit my sneeze button and it didn't work. So I let it fly as like hard as I could. Yeah,
what did you say? What? I can't hear you. What? No, I'm just kidding. I got a ringing in my ears.
Yeah, when I so my experience with Mixum is like the guide that they give you to upload your file is really, really good for the trim lines, because what you want to print is going to get cut like right where they tell you it is. So I had to load every page and make sure that it all fit within that little like thin white line that you can see. And when I got the final product, it was exactly so. And some of these decisions, like were my decisions when we have word balloons a little close to the top, but it nothing got cut off. And like, here's examples of full bleed. And I think what I did was I faded them out just a little bit in Photoshop, using like a little blur. But it was very, very predictable. The paper stock choices, you're right. I wish they had more paper stock choices. They give you like 3 or 4 paper stock choices for the inside, and like only like 2 or 3 for the cover.
Because they just don't feel like comic books. Like, it doesn't even feel like a magazine. They have such a physical weight to them that it's like, the only thing that would save me with them, and this is going to sound incredibly odd, but if you've been with us since the beginning, over 4.5 years, I want color paper choices from a printer. I would love to. You get cream color with Lulu, but I would love like a pink, blue, all pale pastels. But I'm just not too happy with that. But I have to say though, if I had to go with Kablam, I would be ultimately satisfied. But I have so much history with Lulu that I'm really, really anxious to see what they come back in return. because all the settings are exactly identical to the Kablam. Now they are more expensive by like $1 and some change.
Per book.
But
Wow.
yeah. But the thing with Lulu is I get international sales. So once I do put this book up, there will be a Lulu international version. But what I'll have at conventions is going to be yet to be determined because I have to wait on that Lulu copy, which I should. It's in transit right now, shipping.
Does that mean though they can ship anywhere, or I mean
anywhere in the world?
print and deliver? Right.
Yep, it's all print on demand, international. New Zealand, Australia, Japan, United States. Africa is a little difficult.
And there's no minimum. You're just talking about one-off copy.
One book.
I got a sale.
One book. And the only thing that really kind of can get iffy is the shipping cost. So the shipping, like I'll tell you right now, if you want to make and ship comics in a country in the world right now, just from my experience in Lulu, the United Kingdom is the best place because they have a flat $5.20 mailing for books, comics, and magazines. It's just, and it's like all over, it's all over. I guess it's like their, what do you call it? Their media mail. But with international, things can get up into like the $12 and $13. France, Germany, Canada right now is I think just over 12. But yeah, I haven't shipped to Mexico or South America, but it's just I like that feeling because I just don't want to have. I hate the feeling of like somebody saying, "Oh, dude, I live in Germany and I really, really like your comic from seeing it." Blah 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 blah. Can we figure out how much it would cost to send? And I got a $5 comic book. This is back in the day, and then it's $35 a ship. You know what I mean, or $25 a ship. It's heartbreaking.
That's why things are getting so ridiculous. Like I just, I never really supported a Kickstarter project before, and so I just supported James Coates' Emerald Emu #1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm buying 2 comics, and it's like I guess $10 a piece. And it's like $8 shipping. So now you're paying like, $28 for 2 comics. That's almost like $15. By the time it gets delivered, it's almost like $15. There's got to be a better system, and the better system is, going to collaborative, buying from a collaborative where they're stocking all these comics, and you can just say, all right, let me get 4, 5, 6 comics at a time.
Yeah.
So I'm not paying any additional shipping for any of these comics.
I would love to have either the Coates brothers, if not both, on to get an update. John was the one that pretty much had a lot to say about, answering our questions. I should say we just had him on the beginning of this year, and it was very enlightening. But they were still just getting off the ground. And getting off the ground is that it's the recognition and the trust. It's like if I buy $100 worth of comics from these guys, A, are they going to show up? B, are they going to be damaged? C, are they going to get lost in the mail? These are all still things that can be kind of heartbreaking. But, once that trust level is there, then, you just have your pull list and then you pull the trigger and you buy books. Like I'm almost finished curating a My Comics, shop.com pull list, to send myself a little treat, But yeah, you're absolutely right, Jake. Yeah. And it's just I know Crown the Barbarian I'm working on, doing that. As a matter of fact, for SBX and IC3, I'm starting to reach out to a few folks and try to do something in the way of receiving like 3 to 5 copies of their books to just have there to sell, you know, at my booth and everything. So, you know, because you know, I keep going on about this destination thing. You know, it's all about, you know, when you go somewhere, quote unquote, like a comic book store or a comic book show.
Yeah,
you're anticipating, you know, some cold cash in your pocket that's going to be empty by the time you leave, but a really amazing amount of books that you've either been hunting for or you were surprised by. You know, going from there. The internet the internet. I'm fine with the internet and ordering books, especially like ones I can't find locally or haven't come across at shows or something. But yeah, I mean it's
yeah.
pain.
Right. So, you know, interesting discussion. You know, we're really rooting for, you know, all PowerPole and all the guys that are doing consortia to try to get around the fact that it's way too much to ship a comic book in the United States nowadays, and you know, even other countries, it's like it's more than the comic, and it makes it cost prohibitive. We got some folks in the chat. Anybody wants to go check us out live on YouTube? It looks like this in split screen. I'm going to be drawing a turbo page here, and Kurt is going to be inking. We got Saboteur checking in. Good morning. Saboteur says, I had someone buy a book someplace in the UK, and the shipping was $30.
Yep.
Right. I mean, how can you expect people to pay $30 just to ship one book? You know, you're better off waiting until, you know, you see it in a store or something. And Daryl Grant is here, checking in. Hey, Daryl, good morning. So, yeah, if you're around and you're watching this live, you can comment and you know, bring the conversation any which way you want. Today we're going to talk about a couple of things. I was gonna ask Kurt a couple of questions about my Kickstarter because I've never done one before, and I'm planning to put Pro White Melody on Kickstarter. I think I'm gonna wait until the school year because it's only a couple of weeks away, and then I would have everybody in the school community that I can talk to and send them.
Good.
But I have these books I printed out. 66 copies. I probably have, I don't know, 60 left. And I don't know, I don't even keep track. And sometimes I just give these things away like Tic Tac. Yeah, so, you know, for me, it's about timing, you know, where to set the pricing for shipping, you know, what to say. And, you know, I'm thinking like, you know, the smartest thing for me would probably be exactly what we're talking about. Make my Kickstarter into kind of like one of these value pack things where you can say, all right, you can buy Pearl White Melody. I don't know why I just showed you magazine, but
why don't you show Pearl? Yeah. Give you full screen. Give you some full screenage.
Well, I have to move up a little. I probably need to move up anyway if I'm going to be doing some flip throughs. But yeah, Pro White Melody. I have, I think, 100 of these printed, and I sold a bunch, so maybe I have like 90 left. So these you know, these could sell by their own on their own. I did put an $8 cover price on it, which Matt immediately took me to task for, and I was like, I was looking at the prices on PowerPole when I set this, and he was like, no, he goes, easily a $10 book if you're doing full color. I was like, all right, next time. But what I would probably go online and do is probably say, all right, if you want to buy a copy of Pearl White Melody. It's $8, and then I'll charge shipping, handling, whatever, and then I'll say, all right, well, here's the other tiers. You can buy it with a copy of Turbo Teaser, right? Or you can buy it with a copy of Doom Magazine, or you can buy it with a Turbo Sticker or whatever. Like, if you have like 3 different combinations and people can save shipping on, because that's something that I would probably take advantage of. And one thing like about eBay is that whenever I'm buying something on eBay, I always look at the seller's other items. Always. And you're more inclined, even if I'm just buying something I don't really want that much, you are so inclined to buy an additional item because it's like so nerve-wracking to pay more than the comic's value for shipping, and so I just soothe my raging OCD by buying something else. And yeah, it's I think it's the way of the future. I can't wait until, because when I used to sell comics in the 90s, Kurt and I both used to publish our own comics, and for me, I used to sell directly to all these catalogs. I used to sell a whole box at a time, and I would ship it out, and of course shipping was cheap back in the 90s, but I used to have all these catalogs that I was in. I was in for a little time Rip Off, Last Gasp, Bud Plant, Friendly Franks, Fantagraphics, mature line, and like even some others that I don't remember. So then all you gotta do is just go out and try to promote your stuff, like try to get in a zine, or try to get in a real magazine, or whatever. They didn't have podcasts back then. They didn't have internet back then. But I ended up selling thousands of comics that way. It took a long time, but I ended up selling thousands of comics. So nowadays it's like a whole different ballgame. And Kurt, ever since I got back together with Kurt, he's like, your expectation should be to sell like 100 comics, and I was, that was always kind of kind of weird to me, because
what the fuck are you talking about, Kurt? We could sell thousands of comics.
Well, that's the hope.
We're so good.
Well, there is. I mean, when we first got back together, there was still Diamond. And Diamond was an option if you're willing to print 1,000 comics offset. That was an option for some people who have a big audience, or are striking out and want to take that gambit of printing 1,000 comics to try to get into Diamond, because this way every retailer, your listing will be in a catalog that every U.S. retailer will see and has the opportunity to pre-order, and that and months ahead of time. And that was always the model of Diamond Distributors that has really served the indie industry well for decades and decades and decades, until they went belly up. Like what was, like 2 years ago or something. So and they haven't been appreciably replaced yet, that I know of for indie publishers. But Diamond was, I mean, let's face it, they were a rat's ass. They were really demanding. The terms were onerous. Everything had to be drop shipped by a certain day and a certain time, otherwise you were like screwed. And there's penalties and all this kind of stuff. But I did it. I did it in the 90s with them, and I got over 1,000 orders. So it was really cool. It was actually very, very good for me. To use Diamond back then. So times have changed, and we're all adapting to the new reality. And some people that are listening to this probably like can't even conceive like what life was like in the 90s, you know, when Jake and Kurt were making black and white indies and selling thousands. But you know, that was a golden era, I guess. Um, where can we see one, Jake? I guess you were talking about Pearl White Malady, and I showed it. I showed it here. Saboteur was asking. Um, I did a unboxing of this, which has a whole walkthrough, and that was on the Doom Mags Substack. So if you go to substack.com and put in Doom Mags, or you just put Doom Mags and Substack in Google, I'm
Yeah,
sure
but I
it'll
think
take.
Jake's still asking. I mean, sorry, Charlie's still asking the pending question of how does one get a hold of these amazing comics that Jake and Kurt are making. And we have been, you know, you can amend it every week if you want, but you know, the idea right now is that Jake is holding on to the stuff he's printed. Jake has copies in hand and can ship them to you, so you can purchase directly from him by messaging him or emailing him, Instagram messaging, and go from there. So, but once I get my copies, because I also want to work out a way of getting a good 20 copies of Pearl White Malady to then have on cromthebarbarian.com and kurtbruegel.com, which kurtbruegel.com is going to be getting revamped in the coming months. So, because I have a kind of an idea I want to really return to and expand upon. But yeah, I mean, you know, if you're at this point in the video and you're going, wow, guys, you know, what are you selling? Where can I buy your comic books? You know,
DoomMags.com.
yeah,
my,
you know, Jake, I'm getting tired of just sending people away. So you can get a hold of me, Kurt Bruegel at gmail.com, NY Art Eacher. So there's no two T's.
No, it's a lot easier just to go to doommags.com. I have a PayPal.
I understand. I understand.
Click button, and
I understand. I understand.
and of course,
Also, there's Instagram. There's also Instagram. So messaging. Now, I have no notifications on my phone turned on for any social media. So I have to physically go and check, which I do, you know, a couple times a day sometimes. But so if you don't hear from me immediately in Instagram messaging, don't worry. I'll probably pick it up within a day or two. But I don't want. One of the things I'm coming to a head with, and I'm hearing other people sort of mimic something that I'm just going to state. You know, I don't see Charlie as a customer. I see Charlie as a equal. You know, he's doing his own comics. He actually has a pinup coming up in World Anthology #2. You know, if there was anything to kind of like call ourselves, it's fans. So in my feeling going forward, you know, and once again, Jake, you can operate the way you want, but for me, it's like I don't want people to just feel like, you know, I'm like, oh, hey, you know, just go to cromthebarbarian.com. You know, no, if you want to email me, and I get emails, you know, here and there through Kurt at cromthebarbarian.com, specifically asking, you know, questions about submitting and everything, or, you know, blah, 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 blah. International shipping rates, you know, these types of things. But I really do want to be way more community building as a fan base in indie comics than me trying to establish my shop online or at a show and sell to customers. It's just something that I'm going to be speaking to kind of quite often as definitely the year rolls through. Specifically, some of the strategies I have moving through SPX the 12th and 13th of September. And then 2 weeks later, it's 26th. Jake and we have tables together. I talked to Matt Sardo. Jake, he is totally on it that we have tables next to each other at Providence. So, you know, I just really want to when I'm at shows, I really want to find a way in like being able to maintain a fan to fan contacting system, a community contacting system, and not this like, you know, customer. I just don't. I'm done with seeing anybody as a customer. You know, I want to. I'm seeing
Yeah.
people now in the equality of being a fan. So you know.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I'm for anybody that's just randomly listening and wants to get a hold of something that you see here, just contact us. And you can just go in the comments. But I have PayPal buttons set up. If you just go to doommags.com, it's like the first thing you see, and it's a link tree, and then it brings you to hellclaw.com, and I have PayPal button set up. If you have a different payment form, like Venmo or check or whatever, we can work anything out. But that's the that's just like the immediate, and it is a pain in the butt to go to the post office and all that, but because Kurt and I live where it's like cars. You need a car just to go get a bag of potato chips. But and then the other thing is, like I give these things away when somebody else has a comic, and
Yes.
we're doing
Yes.
trades. I probably did that more than selling at the IC3 con, and especially when I was talking with musicians and we're trading 45s, and we were talking about shop, and all that kind of stuff. So there's a million different things, and Kurt said it well. So
which is also, I want to just do one more amend, is to fan. If you get to SPX or IC3 and you have a comic, I am going to be totally open to trading books. So that's like number one on my list for if you're going to a show and I'm on your destination list. Don't be afraid to ask. And this goes for like I love handmade comics, hand printed comics, zines. So however it is, it's going to get worked out. But thank you for saying that, Jay.
Yeah, and with that, we would also schedule you to be on this podcast, the Indie Creator Exchange.
Yay!
We've done dozens and dozens. I don't know, we're up to 50 or 100 or something, and they're all
68.
We've done 68 indie creator interviews. Wow. And those are all, you can binge watch them all. You can meet all these great people, mostly guys, but some females too. And you can see what they're all up to and learn from them. We all, trade secrets and tricks of the trade. And I always love to ask about content. What's the character all about? What's the world all about? I always ask about influences. We always ask about, the future of comics. So those are all great episodes to see. And if anybody else is making a comic, people that watch us regularly probably hear this repetitively, but that's what we do. So we can move on. I am going to do some haul today, but Kurt, I know that I went to the movies yesterday.
I went
I saw a movie
Tuesday. I went on Tuesday, so I have actually something to share too about my movie. But go ahead. Sorry.
Well, what movie did you see on Tuesday?
Odyssey.
Me too. So let me give you.
This is like since Furioso.
Yeah.
We have not seen the same movie in a movie theater yet, so that dates the last time you and I actually had a conversation about going and seeing a movie.
Kurt's so grumpy about like every commercial movie that comes out, and he boycotts Marvel, DC, all this stuff. But yeah, what my whole setup to the story is that my wife's down in Florida. She saw it with some friends, and she immediately told me, go see this, like go see it tonight, like go by yourself, just go, because I'm on summer vacation. She's like, go see it immediately, go see it. And so I was like, no, I'm not going to do anything crazy now. I'm going to wait for the weekend and go with my brother. And we went to a ramen shop and we got some food and everything. But then we go see the movie, and my expectations weren't as high, and I have to say, it's the best movie I've seen probably in 10 years.
Dude.
Furiosa was my favorite movie, in recent memory. But this movie, this script, screenplay, the way they presented the timeline, the way they presented the flashbacks, the way they wrapped up Homer's Odyssey into this Hollywood wrapper for 2026 was just incredible. And it's a funny thing because the promo, for weeks and months now, we've been seeing promo on this, and you didn't think that it was going to be such a blockbuster. But when I went in there yesterday, like all the seats were taken except for a couple of loosies, right? And then we even saw some people at the last minute that were grumpy because they were split up, and they had to go. One person had to go sit there, the other person had to go sit there. But then at the end of the movie, they looked at each other and they were just like nodding, smiling and nodding, like, yeah, this movie was great. So your first impressions, and then I'll say one more thing.
Yeah, the thing that I have to say is I had to see the movie because it's basically the core system that you use in order to write fantasy / sword and sorcery. So if you're a sword and sorcery fan, or you claim yourself to be a sword and sorcery fan, and you have not read the Odyssey or the Iliad, you are missing out, because there's a depth to this story in so many different ways than just being sword and sorcery, foundation forming, but just about masculinity, about femininity, about community, about foreigners. One of my favorite topics in the movie that I don't want to spoil at all is their discussion of the sea people, which, if you know anything about history in the Mediterranean during this time, the sea people were a group of marauders, basically the first pirates, if you will. So they've got this really colorful thing. But anyway, I don't want to spoil anything, because I do believe everybody has to see it. I think the thing that I was most anxious about was that he only had 3 hours to tell the story. And that really, my favorite Odyssey, there's 7 Odyssey movies that have been made internationally. There was one in the mid 90s that came out, I think, on the Sci-Fi Channel. It came in 3 2-hour segments. It starred Armando, is an Italian, really good looking guy, really good. He was doing a lot of Armanda something. I can look it up in a second. But Athena was played by Isabella Rossellini, who is, second in my classification to worldly female beauty to Sophia Loren. So I bought the DVD collection when it came out. Now they had more than 6 hours to do justice, and I felt like they really did do justice. I have to hand it to Kevin Nolan in really Christopher Nolan, sorry, really doing justice with the material in 2026?
Yeah, I thought I saw that this was based on a novel, like some other treatment of Homer's Odyssey. I know they say based on Homer's Odyssey, but I think there was, I don't know if there was a book. I think there was a book, that came out with this kind of telling of it. And, Kurt spoke about some of the themes that they touch on, welcoming the stranger,
Yeah.
the fear of the sea people. Of course, they were, I'm not spoiling anything to tell people that the Greeks lived in a polytheistic society where they believed in all these different gods. Zeus being chief among them. It was really great the way they weaved in the law of Zeus. They kept saying,
Yep.
which was like this kind of like reminder, for like basic morality. And then, oh, what a twist at the end!
No. Hold on. The rule, the law of Zeus is that the gods walk among us, and so even if a beggar walks into your house, do not shun them or degrade them, because they could be a god in disguise. And that was played out really well, especially with the Cyclops scene. So, freaking amazing how they.
Yeah. And right, and that has a parallel in Christianity. Help the least among us. There was also a reality show called Undercover Boss. Where
Sente, yes.
Armand Asante.
Yes. That if you
Yeah,
you guys
I know
really, oh dude, he's amazing. It's totally worth sitting down for more than 6 hours and watching that. Also, too, by the way, Kirk Douglas's Odyssey, I think it's like 1964. Plays all along the lines of the old sword and sandal motif.
Right.
So, anyways, just really good.
Yeah,
show.
I mean, look, there was a lot of different, movies that had the Greek myths and, the Jason and the Argonauts. Remember, nobody can forget the skeletons. Nobody can forget the stop motion animation. David and Goliath was played out. The Cyclops was played out. So a lot, I mean, we've been living with these myths a long time, and these names, like Calypso and all this, these are all gods. But the way they put it together in this treatment was so incredibly like tugging at your heartstrings.
Yeah.
They brought these characters alive in, this real kind of like relatable and emotionally empathetic setting, and Odysseus, has been away for a long time. The characters, age. They go through a lot of, stuff. It really makes you want to go back to the source material. But the way they wrapped it up, the dialogue, it was just, they weren't saying thee and thy. They were just talking, like hey, give me that stick, So so there was all that, and talk about star-studded. I wanted to just go down the list here, but you had Matt Damon, you had Anne Hathaway, so that right there is like a killer box office, leading man, a leading lady. Then you had James Pattinson,
Robert Pattinson, dude, he was so bad.
So slimy.
He was so slimy.
Yeah.
He was my buddy. My buddy kept saying, I just can't believe he has this much depth as like a really jerk, cruel human being, and he does it so well. Slimy is the best descriptor for him. Yeah.
Slimer. Yeah. And let's see, they had Spider-Man. What's the kid's name? I don't know his name.
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland, thank you. Right, my students all know his name. They had well, I don't know if I should even like some of these are kind of surprising.
No, yeah, I was just gonna don't. There's one in particular.
Cameos.
Yeah, just
There's
don't stop there. Stop there, because like,
A-list cameos all throughout.
but
A-list,
perfectly casted,
yeah,
perfectly casted. So,
yeah.
okay. So the one last thing I really want to say is there are two scenes in the movie. Christopher Nolan homages to John Milius's Conan. It's subtle. One is subtle. The first one is subtle, and it's about 2+ hours in. But towards the end, he mirrors the end, a shot from the ending of Conan the Barbarian, John Milius's Conan the Barbarian, and like it is that's not the only movie that he really leans into for like the cinematography of the film. So he really, I don't want to say jumps, but as you were saying earlier, there's an emotional contract he almost makes you sign immediately, like going in. And then as it keeps moving along, you're just more and more like, like you said, yeah, I totally, like, you're gut wrenched a lot when things come up on you, and you're like, oh shit, that's what this poem is supposed to be all about. It's about morality. It's about behavior.
It's
about the consequences.
It was great in that way. Yeah. Well, the I guess the format, was very, very like dancing around the timeline and with quick cuts and everything. But he did it in a way where it really helps, nowadays short attention span person understand, how, the future is going to be connected to the past, and, what happened here. And, you explain stuff, even if they only show somebody for like 2 seconds, they establish really early that, we're just going to like leave this scene right in the middle and show you some part of another scene, to explain it. And I thought that worked because by the end you just get this story where you're just like dancing around all of these, different years and all of these different situations to come to, this like climactic scene, like that just like really got it. It just gets so exciting by a very, very climactic ending. That you just, it just like ratchets up and all, leads into this, this great payoff. And it worked. I was just like hook, line, and sinker. So, if anybody wants to see the Odyssey, Jake and Kurt give it 2 thumbs up. Christopher Nolan, great job, and can't wait to see his next project on the heels of this. I want to see what this does as far as box office, because this movie's been out for, I don't know, 3 weeks now, and the place was packed last night, and
well, there is something that goes with that should be also said, is it was a perfect movie to see in the theater. It's been designed that if you don't see it in the theater and you catch it streaming, you're going to be gutted. You're going to be like, oh shit.
Well, we couldn't get tickets for the IMAX. The IMAX was completely sold out.
You don't have to die. I just
no. Lisa saw it. Lisa saw it like down in the IMAX, and she traveled to go see it on the IMAX. And I guess in Florida, wherever she was in Daytona, like it was doable, but it wasn't doable. Like it was sold out. All the IMAXs were sold out. Because my brother was always like, "Let's go on the IMAX," and. I'm with you. I'm like, I can see it on a regular screen. They also have something called AMC Laser. I don't know what the hell that means. What the hell the difference is, but yeah, it's a great movie to see in the theater. I got taken away. I escaped. And then when it's over, you're just like, wow, I really really enjoyed that. And it sends you these really really deep messages, about morality and how to treat others and the consequences,
Of your
respect.
actions.
Yeah, taking responsibility for your actions, respecting the dead, like all these different like themes come up real heavy, and it makes you just like, it's like one of the big themes are like, how all these warriors, even if they win and they're triumphant, they have all this regret and all this senseless violence and
My
everything.
favorite scene is when they go to Hades, and I'm going to leave it at that. And don't spoil it, because
Really,
yeah, that was my favorite scene, and it was. I will say this though, it was very Shakespearean.
yeah.
So, and
Well, it
that's
was a great vehicle for the storytelling because when you can, talk to the undead, you can really get a lot of information, right? How people were feeling, and
well, the
like,
bigger part of it was, they are dead. They were his men, and other than the person that they were going to, it wasn't Telemachus, because that Telemachus is his son.
yeah,
Anyhow, but yeah, like, and is the they see all, so the dead see all, so the dead individuals that he was meeting, Odysseus was getting prophecy from them,
right,
and like, dude, I just thought that shit was just awesome.
yeah.
It was so well done. It was so well
Killer.
done.
It's so funny that this comes out during summer because, um, you know, I'm pretty sure like in our school, sixth grade does Greek and Roman, civilization, and they do all about the gods. We were taking kids to see movies, for years about like Percy Jackson and the gods of whatever. I don't even know too much about the franchise, but we were going to the Met, to see the statues of Hercules and the actual real, stuff. And this would have been a big blockbuster, I think, for the school year had they released it during the goddamn school year, because every middle school that's doing Greek civilization would have wanted the kids to sit there. Like, what a great way to spend 3 hours learning about and it's not too much of an adult movie that I don't know what it was. I don't know if it got a PG. I guess it got a PG-13, or whatever they call the ratings now. But there was no. It's fine for sixth graders. I would think. So I mean, they might do this. They might like hold it over for September, and they might or they might bring it back for the school year so that they can do field trips, because I would imagine you're gonna get a lot of action. I mean, if I'm going to talk to the social studies teachers in my school and see if they've seen this yet, because wow, just a great movie, but what a great introduction, to the whole saga, to kids who are don't know anything about anything, but it's a good movie.
Yeah, and once again, from the start, for me, the oldest, in a sense, tale of fantasy, if you will, like an adventure, right? An adventure story. So well done, um, for today, for 2026. Like, never clobbered us with anything, made excellent notations that it's 2026 in a sense, or we're in this time of extreme. But we can all agree, these types of points that, it's a over 3,000-year-old poem. But the thing is that Homer didn't write the story. He collected all the stories, the songs, because that was the greatest part of the opening, was the way that they did the songs. They banged this big staff, and then they would they would say the verse, and then they would bang the staff, and your attention was held. So he did, like in medieval times, it's not till like the 12th century do they start collecting Beowulf and these stories that were being told every goddamn night. Every goddamn night you were hearing, but you could hear it from somebody else. Somebody else could show up in your village and be like, they're receiving hospitality, and the villagers would say like, well, did you know any other stories about Beowulf? You know what I mean? Or Odysseus. You guys haven't heard this story about Beowulf. You haven't heard this story about Odysseus. And
oral tradition, and also like night tales for the young, indoctrinating the young, all of the above. And I want to cast my nomination for Best Actress to Anne Hathaway. She was always on my crush list anyway, but and in this role she is like this coveted prize, this like a queen who's like longing for her king to come back, the Queen of Ithaca. But when the way they show her, the way they frame her, the way they like she asserts herself, the way she conveys what she's going through, like wow, it really gets you. And she can really make people in the audience emote. They tear jerker, they can really you really feel for the characters. So real good props to her. Matt Damon does just a great job, like throughout, not just carrying the the acting, but the action sequences, and the
dude, he was ripped.
I know. Who did?
He made me for about 5.5 minutes after the film to go to the gym.
What's that? Go to the gym?
Join the gym, yeah. It was about 5 minutes long, and then it went away.
Right.
Because we went and got Mexican. After I ate that burrito, man, I ain't doing shit.
Right.
So,
wow. Yeah. So real cool job. And I guess now we're just gonna see the box office. We're gonna see the awards. We're gonna see the accolades. So, and I don't know what the comic world is gonna do, but this is probably gonna inspire so many comics now. To just there have already been plenty, and it's all public domain characters, obviously the Greek gods, but you're probably going to see a lot of people just really get motivated, to work with some of this source material.
I agree. It'd be interesting.
So cool beans. I did a couple of live streams since we last spoke. I think maybe 2. And I did this one where I was going through an old notebook that I found. Sorry. Excuse me. Let me take a little sip of tea here. But what I'm working on right now is page 26 of Turbo number 2. I'm penciling my blue line pencils. This is the very first appearance of Mr. Ike. And this is when Turbo, Trophy, and Gopher drive into, after a long battle and chase, they drive into this little tech town called Osvalde 9, and they're looking for Mr. Ike, and they find him immediately, trying to escape like rocket fire or mortar fire, running down the streets here, and they pull him aboard, and we get the explanation down here at the bottom that it's his wife going after him. But this is what I've been penciling here, and I finished this panel today. I started this other panel. I wanted to go over this notebook that I haven't come across for a long time. This was 20 years ago, 25 years ago. I don't know, maybe 30 years ago. And it's really interesting. Kurt, remember when we were like kicking around, should we do Turbo or should we do Pearl White Malady?
Yeah.
So I found, I didn't even know that I had this. I didn't remember that I had this. But Pearl White Malady was not originally a kid's version comic. It was always supposed to be an homage to Commandy. That's for sure. I mean, you could even see, like, I was looking at the covers of Commandy. But what I laid out right here, and it says printed in duoscope, or I also said dual vision. I wanted this to be a duotone with like burgundy and light blue, dark burgundy and light blue. But here is page 1, page 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I laid this whole thing out in thumbnail, and it was a little more adult because they're like monster, like there was like, female monsters that were like, with breasts. There was, there was a scene where Malady and the boy in the doofy suit are like, making out and, getting a little hot and heavy. Right, here's page 10, page 11. But other than that, it was pretty much, the same idea. They wake up on the demon planet. Wilt Eye is, he's dead, but he's alive. But I had all this other stuff. Look at all this dialogue that I worked out. Page 12, 13. Here's page 14, 15. We get into the backstory. We explain the science of how it ended up being a devil planet. Here, Wilt Eisner makes a later appearance. Page 16, page 17, page 18, page 19. Had the whole thing worked out. Had these great characters I called the Terminoids. They're like this flock of little termite creature men, and look, here's the first original designs ever for Malady. I started drawing Pearl White here instead of Snow White. I was just sketching loosely, some of these other creatures, that we come across. So I'm coming across all this, and I'm like, wow, I want to use this for something else. I guess not Malady, but I can make this, definitely an adventure story. Look, here's a very early sketch for Pearl White Malady. And so it turns out it was like, I got up to page 19, and that's where it just kind of trails off. But I was probably aiming for 22 at the time, or maybe 28, I don't know. I have some other character study work here. Here's the beheaded Wilt Eisner with Malady. This is a pretty cool thing. If I would have seen this, I might have even printed this in Pearl White Malady #1. I'm definitely going to use it in #2. Maybe like the back pages or the back cover or something. Here's the design for the Terminoids. This is cool. I don't know what all this is, but they have these stripes. Here's another one right here. Termoids, not Terminoids. I was designing the Eisner World logo. Here's another early sketch that was never finished. Some of these proportions are weird. I was gonna draw her eyes really, really small, kind of like Shirley MacLaine, but I guess I changed that and made them rather big. And just a prized old notebook that I came across, haven't seen in forever. And what's in this pad. This is just some show and tell, some sketching I did during the last couple of days and weeks. Some faces. I don't know if I finished anything with inks. There's a Hawkwind piece. Oh yeah, I did. Yep, I did. So here is a sketch. This is a sequence where Hellclaw and Esoterra are kind of like exploring her powers, and they're using these weird machines to kind of like measure what she can and can't do. All this text here. So there's that. Here's a Hellclaw pin. That's not new. So that's a little catch up. And I also have this turbo pinup, which is pencils. And I got to figure out if I want to do something with it. It's not on the thickest paper. It's on kind of thin paper, but it came out nice. So it's, a nice big poster size turbo pin. And then for the longest, I've been working on this Chromita pin, which is going to be like a cover. It's going to have this cool chrome graffiti lettering. And then I have her in a kind of like a garage. She's like backed into a corner in a garage. And then I have all this space that I rolled out for all this text that I'm going to have. It's going to have text here, 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 and then this little panel right here, which will have something like a bigger headline. But I don't know what to write exactly about Chromita, sent by the unseen hand, but what is her program? Finally, I did a little bit of pencils on my Crom 9 pager. So I'm ready anytime you're ready, Kurt, to do the Crom podcast and do some live drawing and talk about the story.
Yeah, I'm in complete Crom Anthology #2 phase right now. So I'm working on the cover. As a matter of fact, either tomorrow or Tuesday, I'm going to go live to give a in-depth update of where I'm at, because I've got a end of the month deadline to get that book to print and be released at the beginning of September for SPX 12th and 13th of September and IC3 September 26th. So I will not be engaging any new work until October. So you're on my list, bro. Trust me.
That's
You're like
fine.
you're at the top. You're at the top of the list. You will not be forgotten.
This is what I work on all the time. This little folder, End of the World Art and Sketches. These are pinups that are original art, and I just keep adding to them. And at some point, I am going to scan these, and I'm wondering if I could actually get it done by September, but like scan everything and just put it into a sketch diary and make a couple of copies. But I have plenty of material, that's for sure. And then I also have the Faces project, which is probably up to like 40. And those aren't the paintings, those are just the illustrations. So that could be a book. And then I have the concert posters, which I could be printing out. And so I'm going to be putting out books, magazines, whatever, for a while. But it's for me, the bottleneck is like scanning it all and then doing that whole mixing thing, or doing that whole production thing where you're putting all the pages into the little guidelines and then packaging the whole PDF. Usually that's done like last minute. What did you say? Like, what did you call it? The end of the world deadline? What did you say? End of the road deadline. We have our end of the world timeline, but we also have the end of the road deadline when it's time to do a con or an appearance or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be realistic. Like it's just one of the flaws that we have as creatives, I feel. It's constantly wanting and like, oh, I want to do this, oh, I want to see this, I want to get this done and stuff like that. But the hustling is another thing I'm getting rid of, because it's just not it's not truly productive, you know. But you know, to be really with something and produce it properly, carefully, and then be able to then get it out there, you know, that's a skill to be mastered. Like it should not be. It should not be putting your book together. Should not be secondary to making the book. Like I've said, this is. Let me get back to you and I. This is my art. I have flipped through this thing probably 2 dozen times since I've had it since yesterday. I even had my wife read it. She was just like, "This thing is amazing. It's just amazing." And you know, the to toot our own horn here. I mean, we start off with Ken Landgraf, and for me, I start most days staring at Ken Landgraf work, and then I start inking. Right now, I'm painting. I'm painting the cover for Crumb Anthology, and all I'm doing is staring at Frank Frazetta. As a matter of fact, I'm using this cover as a point of inspiration and motivation. So you know, it's something to be said about making your art, but when you put it together, that's why like this was very disappointing in that it should just be stark black because the eye needs to move. Now most people are probably just sitting there listening to me going, "Oh, okay, well at least you got a comic book printed." Yeah, okay, I get it, but in my brain when I'm making my comic, I have things in my head that I want to see translate to print. And this is not how I wanted to see it translated into print. So it's a very big disappointment. And I still feel a sense of responsibility in order to adjust it, at least for my copy. Like, since we've agreed to allow each other, you know, printing our own copies, you know, and sharing the files, you know, I think that's pretty gracious because I do get to have my own sense of resolve. The other thing is, as I just mentioned, I make certain decisions on the pages that I'm working on in order to see them in print, in order to adjust the way that I approach making the pages that will then go to print. So it's this constant upping the skill dialogue. Now, I know when we were around these pages, let me flip this to me getting full screen here. You know, when I got to this, I was like, oh, I see exactly what Jake and Matt were saying about like too gray. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And now it's you know, it's clicked. Now, when I was making these pages, they were 13 by 19. And I was really playing inside each of these panels, right? And I was having a good time. And then when I'm getting this feedback, I'm going, yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah, I don't know about that. But now that I see it, but then you go here, I probably even clicked in and said, okay, I'll push a little bit more darks and blacks and stuff. But, you know, once again, the toning of his face to his shirt, not what I wanted. So, you know, these are reactions that I play upon myself. And then put things together. I still, you know, I wish I had this before we had our interview with Alex Turbin. Love these pages. I really, because I was really going for texture, and a lot of them, like the rocket,
he gave you like,
and even
you wide open, you know, line art, you know, so that you could just paint your canvas on.
Yeah, it was just great. I mean, even this page that he was saying, like, oh, you know, I wish I should have done it. I wish I could. Maybe I should. I'm like, I don't know. I don't see kind of what he probably was seeing in his own approach to making it. But putting the books together, I think it is equal, in my feeling, to making it as an art firm as it is to make the art. You know, and then, you know, to go one more step further in a trifecta, promoting and selling your book. It also needs to be respected and think that. Now, do you want to talk about, you know, Kickstarter? Because I do want to, being said, you know, I am very excited about you doing a Kickstarter because you will have the experience yourself. You won't be living through my begrunging, besmoting um, Kickstarter, because I have my own process in promoting and selling, and then definitely building a recognition destination point. That's the number one thing I don't like about promoting a Kickstarter, is because at the end of the day, Crom Anthology would be only seen in searches on Kickstarter. And then I think it's also a very convoluted place
Oh
to
yeah,
get
right.
information. I think you're able to, set the Kickstarter to a store or something. I don't know. I really don't care, and I'm not going to personally going to care. But when you go through it, then you're going to have your own point of view, that when we do discuss, you could convince me otherwise. Like, you could really convince me otherwise. But one of the points I really do want to pick back up off of Alex Turbin, overhearing you guys when I was having some technological difficulties with streaming that podcast in the beginning. But we ended up recording it, and I pasted the two together, and the episode has gotten a lot of views too. So thank you. But he said it. You cannot depend 1% of the clientele coming and buying your book because it's on Kickstarter. Like, right now you have I think it's like about 20-ish people following you on Substack, right? And I don't know how many people follow you on Instagram, but numbers going, and you using those two platforms as promotion, just those two platforms. Now we have 1,670 followers here on Turbo Pit Fighter YouTube channel, but we only get up into around 100 people coming and watching. Whether they watch it all the way through, I doubt 100 people are. But then you're going to have a core value of about 10 people. I would suspect, with your Kickstarter, standing with the amount of attention you have going with Instagram, Substack, and YouTube, you could probably sell 10 to 15 comics.
Right.
So that's my own point of view of end history. And that was also what Alex was talking about when he did Mulgrim, is he really thought he was, and the comic he did with Robert E. Howard and H.P. Lovecraft as the detective duo, which is an amazing comic, by the way. I have one of the original iterations of that printing, because he wanted me to jump on and work on it in the sometimes last time. But he only sold 2 copies. So our own sense of excitement is one thing, but causing people to get excited is another. But the biggest thing we have to really accept are people's pocketbooks. So we always hear, and all of us have, the wish list, right? We run a list, and I want one of these. I want one of those, and though what happens in pulling items off that list and buying them is that you are financially solvent to do it. And so if you once again really want to fit yourself into decent sales online, don't do a Kickstarter 2 weekends ago, because that was San Diego Comic-Con. Also, don't do it the next 2 to 3 months after San Diego Comic-Con, because people have blown their bank accounts. Because it's just a very well-known time. Whether you get to San Diego Comic-Con or not, there's so much frenzy. Like, I'm still watching these Chain Kata comics on eBay, and if one drops to $50, I'm buying one. And I'm saving my pennies to get to, because I'm thinking maybe in 2 or 3 months, maybe by Christmas, I'm saving $50, earmarking it, because I gotta have one of those Chain Kata ash cans. I just have to, not because of the whole like
Oh,
value.
okay.
Yeah, from Daniel Warren Johnson. It's not, has nothing to do with the hype of it. I think I really do believe this comic book is, especially being printed as black and white. It's his own characters. It's his own devices. It's black and white. It's American meets a manga, like in style. I really think this is like a ground point we'll be looking back at, 10 years from now. But anyhow,
Well, I think I saw a post in my feed where he's talking about it all himself, and I know it blew up, but the regular standard comic is going to come out like
yeah,
pretty
but it's gonna
soon.
be colored. I don't want it colored.
Oh,
I
gotcha.
don't want to color. Yeah, he has a colorist who is phenomenal. I mean, his books is colored. Oh, do a power bomb has got a black and white release, so that's going on my list. So the best time actually to do anything, believe it or not, is the month of November. Because the
Okay.
month of November is when everybody is either finishing or panicking for Christmas gifts. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
they're slow. So the mentality is one where I put it on a credit card. That this type of stuff. So then the second best time is March, April, because it's spring / the comic book shows are going to start grinding up. So it's one thing. It's one thing to make an awesome comic book and want to sell it, but it's another thing to be, once again, respectful of the fan base, not treating people like customers in the way that I always hope I'm at least on the wish list. And as a matter of fact, got 2 emails and one by over the last month where people said that. Oh, I've been eyeing World Anthology #1, but I think I really like the mock-up for 2. I don't know what, you know what I mean? Like total fanboy about it. And I'm like, yeah, you just tell me, what you're thinking and stuff. And, I'll help you work something out and, blah, 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 blah. So, I really just want to put it, on you, Jake, that, you keep doing what you're doing very, very well with Substack. Because unfortunately, I got stuck in some OBS video ninja tutorials, which were very enlightening. But by the time I was done, I had to get some breakfast and then, of course, get set up. And it was like 10 minutes to 10 to get started. And so I wasn't able to watch your live stream on Substack, which I do. Because they're very different from what goes on here, because it's just you,
Yeah.
and you have something to say. It's not like you're going on Substack to just hang out and talk. It's literally like I feel that you really have topics or questions or just general want to promote or say hey, like you did your unboxings for both Pro White Malady and Doom Mag's #1. Great stuff, man. Great stuff. So
Yeah, the Kickstarter. So the question I had, because I find all of this stuff like onerous. Like, oh god, the business side,
everybody does,
printing,
except me.
mailing, and shipping, calculating, and then like your accounting and paying taxes and all this stuff. So I'd much rather just be working on content, like oh wow, this is a superhero, this is a sci-fi, this is an attack, this is an action sequence, like ass kicking, this is an art style, this is blah blah blah. I'd much rather be doing content, but this is the world we live in. So I get this regular update from Substack, and I guess I'm kind of like spoiled because like this comes pretty regularly into my email. It is Kevin Laporte from the comics crowd. So it's the comics crowd at Substack.com, and he like, is this like every 2 days? Is this every once in a while? Every week? What he does, and this is something other people could be doing too, because there's plenty of stuff on Substack. I mean, on Kickstarter. What he does is he spotlights a bunch of stuff that's on Kickstarter, and he gives you a rundown. Like, here we go. Look, by the numbers, 14 campaigns submitted on July 30th to 31st, 13 comics and one non-comic tool. $16,000 pledged across all comics on day one from 302 backers. 3 campaigns funded within 24 hours. Redland Humor, Dreamland #1, and 1 Up. 3 campaigns launched at 0. Blackbird, Relatos de Dandian, and Most Likely to Kill Everyone. 4 of the 13 comics, nearly a third, show no sequential art on their campaign pages. More on that below. Then he does comics I like. And he's plugging these Kickstarters. What a amazing public service he's doing to these people, right? And I think what he's trying to do is like, so you don't have to like filter through everything and say, oh, this is awful, this is AI, this is not safe for work, right? And then he's got rankings, right, by day one funding. Die Hard of the Dead, Book 5, The Death of Bobby Hart, second printing, Necessary Evil, Redland Humor, Whispering Doors, Trio Trouble, the ones and twos, right? It goes all the way down to the top 10 or 11. There's I think there's 3 here that are tied for third place with 0% raised. But this gives a little bit of exposure to people that Kickstarter isn't giving you. Look at this: the death of Bobby Hart, a true crime story. Is this a neo-noir true crime graphic novel about the 1970s murder of pulp author Bobby Hart, king of gritty paperback crime fiction? I think I heard about this. There was a street literature guy that got killed himself. So really, you can see really interesting things on here, and he gives a little art sample, but it's mostly just like a newsletter, and so I think that's what I'd love to be in, is if I launch a Kickstarter, like to be in his newsletter, or other people are doing it, right? They're spotlighting it. They're promoting their Substack and their audience and their following by giving you reviews and recommendations, right? Or just letting you know that something's online and it exists. Because that's probably what all the novices to Kickstarter realize, is that you put this online and you hear that 50% of indie comics are on Kickstarter nowadays, and then you realize they're not giving you any promotion.
No.
They're just sitting on Kickstarter.
Yep.
Like when you.
Well, one of the ways you can look at it is this way. Originally, Kickstarter was based.
That whole thing, but.
Can you hear me, Jake?
Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I can hear you fine.
Okay, good. No, I was just going to say the whole reason Kickstarter got started was it was looking for people to fund an idea, which was a great idea itself, right? So I make a pitch. I'm on Shark Tank, and I'm looking for investors. That's the whole idea. And then that's another thing you really need to be conscious of / careful of, is that you want perks, right? Stickers and buttons and a cover that would only be like, I would make a suggestion that you do, another cover or a print, whatever. But the whole idea is to entice somebody to support you in the making of your idea. Now, your comic's already done. It's already printed. Like I said, I doubt you would sell more than like 10 to 15 books at the rate you're at right now. Now, if you got on Kevin's Substack and maybe somebody else shared you, or even more people shared you, you start picking up a couple people. But the biggest thing that you don't have, and I'm excluding our Turbo Pit Fighter thing just for the moment, because I'm just thinking about you on your own. Like you're doing this completely on your own. Not saying that we're not going to utilize our platform and talk and promote it, but at the same time, it's the idea that I found out about you, and then I see that you're doing this really cool project with your kids, and it's a comic book, and it's like, wow, that's so interesting to me, right? Like, to me, how do I get a hold of a comic? Well, then it becomes the whole mechanic of like having a Kickstarter, like, support me. I'm looking to raise my print cost, right? $755, right? Whatever. And then by selling, 50 copies, then you break even. And of course, 50 people get a hold of your comic, and, they're supporting it. And they, a percentage of them become a little closer to being like a core fan of you and what you're doing. So it has this, like, I think the thing that can get lost, and I believe it's actually been bastardized in the crowdfunding system, is that you're coming to market with a product. It's already done on Kickstarter. Like that, that's basically what you're trying to fund, is the print cost, especially in indie comics. That's exactly specifically what I'm talking about. Because the people I only have supported in the last like 4 or 5 years are people that I know through Turbo Pit Fighter and ChromaBarbarian.com, or I watch them passionately on their YouTube channel, and when they say, "Hey, I finished Under God, copies are for sale," it's like, well, where the hell do I go? Oh, I go to angelsofrenaissance.com, or where Ralph Nixon Jr. is selling, his second volume of Under God, which is an incredible American manga style comic, who we've had on, we're going to have on again because of volume 2 being out there. But you can see, like, there's a lot more to it than I've made a comic book. Here it is, indie comic book marketplace. Go ahead and buy it.
Yeah. Right. So I don't know. There's some of these people that Kevin Laporte, lets people know, like, this is not their first Kickstarter. They have, experience. They have a track record. There's also this thing about, risk. Like, I didn't realize it until you guys were talking about it on our pod. But some of these Kickstarters are just scams.
Yep.
And there's a risk that somebody can get scammed because not everybody is smart enough or wise enough to do the Kickstarter after the book is finished, and maybe you just need to get it printed or something. Yeah. Because what happens, this is what used to happen with Diamond Distributing. People used to say, all right, I'm going to make, Captain Cucumber #1. You put it in a listing, you get orders. Oh, you got 500 orders, 800 orders. All right, now I have to draw all the pages, send it to a printer, and then ship that to Diamond just in time for the retailers to get them on whatever Wednesday.
Because they paid for them.
Right, and if people aren't able to get that done in time, you'll never hear from Diamond again. And that's happened, many, many times. And retailers also remember your name.
Yep.
Right. So, and that, and then they start shit talking you all over the industry.
Yep.
So, but that's also happened. I mean, one of the most famous stories was, I think Jay Lee from Image Comics, he got like 1 million pre-orders on some comic, and then all the money comes in, and then he just like took off on a motorcycle across the country.
Yep.
And everyone's like, mental health or whatever, he just cleared out. Like what? And then all of these people are like, what? And he's one of the greatest Image comic guys of all time. So he recovered from that. But everyone was like, all right, that was a mental fart. Like, what the hell were you thinking? And I'm sorry if I'm getting this story, inaccurate, but that's how I remember it. I mean, it was like a legendary story at the time. There's a lot of that. There's also kind of like disappointment when you get a comic, right? Let's say your Kickstarter ships, and then people get the comic, and it's like, I saw the art sample. Right, they're like, but I saw the art samples, but then they freaking use AI on the rest of it, right? Like, maybe they had some nice drawings and everything, but then they were in a rush to do the rest, and they just like, that's what Kevin talks about. And, like I say, it's a great public service. He's telling you, this is a quality offering, or at least, it's, a real offering, not an AI, or, and then he also breaks down not safe for work, because all the adult stuff, gets all the traffic. And that's, he had a whole series of articles about that, where, it's a comic, maybe it's like, some character, and like the 9 lives of Cat Lady or whatever, but then it's a regular comic, but then they do like a nude cover, and then they do like a fully nude cover, then they do a partially nude cover, and then they do all this other stuff. So you have like 5 different things that are not safe for work that they use to draw people in, and guess what actually sells? That stuff. That's his point, is that this stuff sells, Yeah,
and so Charlie from Saboteur Comics, we've had him on the Comic Exchange. We're going to have him back, for his Tommy comic. He said it, and this is, if you're going to do it, you do it this way, is he ran the Kickstarter, already had the books printed, paid for the printing, was using the Kickstarter to get back that printing, obviously moved some books out to fans, but he was shipping the book as soon as you made, I don't know if you can do, what did he say? What is it? Sent them out as soon as the Kickstarter finished. Yeah, and then built the rest. Right, yeah. So it's the day it's done, you're sending out a notification to all backers saying, thank you, funded. Right now, folding the boxes to get your comics and swag in, and you should be seeing it very, very soon. Thank you.
Yeah, end of story. So that's it. It's and then some people are going to do every single issue of their series Kickstarter. Some people might just do one and then take their chances on their own. I know that some people said that when you have to fulfill your Kickstarter, it could be days of just packing up boxes, or and putting labels on, but
and then dropping them off at the
post office. Yeah,
post office. Yeah,
right. I mean, that like people are a victim of your own success. Like, oh no, I sold 1,000 copies of this, I'm going to be here forever. It's not like these things are just like gonna get mailed out on by magic. So you have to prepare for that. Like if I do a Kickstarter during the school year, and I'm gonna have to like do like a whole bunch of packing and shipping. I'm that's gonna be my whole weekend.
Yeah, but that's what brothers are for, and daughters. So
right, all hands on deck. Well, in the Crumb book, that's what they used to do with assembling. Like they used to have a friend that had a printer, like an actual printing press, but they would just like have all these like loose pages, so they would need friends to come over, and they would maybe get them some food and stuff, but they were all
Pizza party.
collating and folding and stapling comics, which is crazy. But now, because now we just have machines for all that. But yeah, so yeah, I'm trying to go in eyes wide open to the realities. But I'm sure there's going to be a million things that I come across in the process.
Oh, definitely. That's why I'm excited for you, because
Right?
you'll be able to, on the other side of it, once it's all said and done, you can say, okay, now I understand what everybody was saying.
So I wanted to try and catch up with some of this stack of comics that I got. I think I did these on my stream, but I haven't done them on our air. And I'm just gonna do covers. Well, I'll try to do covers. If they're bagged, I'll just do covers. But once I show them on the air, I can and I'll bring my camera up a little bit, and I'll try and get rid of the glare. But once I show them on the air, then I can bring them over to my to read pile, which is getting them out of the to show pile. To show on the air and then to read are two different things. And here's a question for Kurt, because when I was in North Carolina at the Dragon's Lair in Fayetteville, which is a great shop for shopping for dollar comics, I came across a run of these, the Savage Sword of Conan magazine, for $1. And I was like, holy shit, because I can buy, there's like 30 or 50 of them here, all different. So I bought like 2 because I was like, I wanted to get all kinds of comics. I didn't want to just get one thing. But I could have very easily bought runs and runs of this. And when I got home and I opened it up, and it's like, the greatest classic, Conan artists and stories and all kinds of great stuff inside. I was wondering, maybe I should have, while I was there, just stocked up on this stuff. And I was wondering what you would have done in my shoes.
Well, I have most of them already.
Really?
Oh yeah. I have a big, plastic tub that is just full of Savage Sword. Now, I did have Savage Tales.
For those that don't, should they grab them for $1 when they see them?
Dude, look, I mean, they're hands down the foundation stone for black and white sword and sorcery comics. There's nothing greater than that comic book. Because, like you said, everybody's in it. Neil Adams, John Buscema, Barry Windsor Smith, Ruby Redford. It's just, I can never get tired of those books. Never, ever. So I'm actually, though, now here's the rub. I'm interested in upgrading to the collections. Now, there are some interesting collections that I've been following, but I kind of feel like there's like another resurgence for like artist editions and so on and so forth. So I've been, they're low on my list, but it would be great to get like a Buscema, Alfredo Akala artist edition. I mean, I'd pay a couple $100 for that, as long as it was like oversized. Like, even if they did it like close to 11 by 17 for the original pages, I'd pay a couple $100 for it. I wouldn't eat or have electricity for a month, that type of thing. But it's like, I'd probably be divorced. But It's just
I'm flabbergasted here because Rudy Nebres Pencils and Inks is one of my great, he's one of my top like 5 inkers, but he has a story here, The Riddle of the Diguzar, that is 55 pages of sequential story right here. Like
yeah.
these floppy comics that you buy nowadays are lucky if you get 20 pages, 22 pages.
Well, even in the Conan ones, that's a really good. But but the problem we're facing right now is the cost per page to produce a comic book. You're probably budget wise only schemed out to 20-ish pages, because once you get that book out and you recoup money and you have a little bit more, blah 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 blah, you just got to keep that boat floating. But back then they were running under magazine, so they didn't have any of the comics code bug in them, so they were like getting pulled off. And magazine distribution in the 70s and 80s was huge. Airports, grocery stores, gas stations, convenience, so on, bookstores, magazine shops, smoke shops, blah 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 blah. So they were making hand over fist, and it was carrying Marvel probably for years. And why wouldn't you put some of these people down as like, thing? Now, there is a divide in Savage Sword of Conan, and that is between Roy Thomas as the editor and Jim Shooter as editor-in-chief.
Well, this one is Larry Hama.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, though, like that is a huge shift, because once Jim gets in there, he's turning Conan. He can only allow stories that Conan has done just things as a hero type, which is not my cup of tea. When Roy does it, he's falling back into, the lonesome existential adventurer, with his own personal code of morality. But, you get a good, decent amount of like the cosmic horror, and yeah.
So deep dive into some Conan. There was, besides Savage Sword of Conan, there was also another title there. What was the other title that I see? You probably know the name of it, but it was similar, but it was a different title.
Conan Saga?
Yeah, maybe that's it. So I'm FOMOing right now. I'm like, all right, maybe I didn't need to buy the whole run, but I probably should have got like at least 4 or 5. I mean, this is like, it's like heavy metal for Sword and Sorcery. You got a great painted cover. You have these great, exciting adventures on the inside, and for $1, come on, that's a great price. This one is Opus. So we have the Death Dealer, and which is Frank Frazetta's character, and it's a real cool, mysterious character, which is funny to see them draw him in like all different poses and angles, because we've only seen him in these like classic.
Jake, pull it down, because you move the camera up and it.
So this is great art by Stefano Martino, and they also mention Axel Medellin and Leonardo Manco. But I always pick up these Death Dealers, and not every single Frazetta comic every single time is as good, but Death Dealer is pretty good. And they start out with this kind of like sepia thing, which I like, but then they get back to like a regular comic, which I don't like as much. I like the sepia thing a little better than this, but not bad art. Oh wow, this is great here. So interesting stuff for the Death Dealer. The Red Fox we've gone over. These are good. And I found one. I found number 9 here. Harrier Comics presents Red Fox. These are good. So I'm happy that I grabbed that. And maybe one day I'll pull all my Red Foxes and we'll do a Red Fox stream. Shuriken number one. This is number 4. I think I got number 1 also in this same pile. No, it's not here, or is it? Do you know the Shuriken?
Oh hell yeah!
Okay, so
Yeah, anything ninja, black and white, I was buying when I was in my
right. So
teens.
this is kind of like a it's liney. I want to say, right? It doesn't have as much like tones and stuff, and the art is okay. The story I haven't read yet, but I picked up I think number 1 of Shuriken and number 4. Um, Here's another Frank Frazetta comic I got, Fire and Ice Necron. This is coming out from Dynamite though, not Opus, and it's a cover by Dan Panosian. Good, nice cover by Dan Panosian. Get inside, and the artist is Jeff Isherwood, which is he's a name that's been around, and his art is good. So this is a good comic. This is good stuff. One thing is like I'm not really keyed in on the stories, that they're doing in these comics. But of course, I know the story of Necron because that's in the famous animated Ralph Bakshi movie, Fire and Ice, which was based on Frank Frazetta's artwork. And if anybody hasn't seen Fire and Ice, animation right now, just go on YouTube, watch the whole thing. It's one of the most incredible, like beautifully rendered rotoscope comics ever, cartoons ever, animations. I got this. I bought it because it was Antarctic Press, but it's kind of superhero-y, and it's Exciting Comics number 19 with a legacy number of 88. I got this in a $5 pack at Ollie's, and it's a pretty substantial comic. Like it seems like it's maybe like 40 pages or something, and no ads until you get to the end. So pretty good. Looks like some action. I'm not loving the colors, and then it's one of these comics where it kind of looks like it gets like to be a quicker style at the end. But that's life. I mean, I could point that out with Rudy Neverest over here too. He kind of like started cutting corners at the end. Here I got Dark Horse Elf Quest number 2, the final quest. So I don't know how many different Elf Quest series they ran, but this is the Elf Quest, the final quest, number 2. I don't know how long this went, but it's Wendy and Richard Pini. So this is 2014, and it's art Wendy Pini, and Sonny Strait doing colors. So this is Wendy Pini still going in 2014 as great as ever. Maybe like a little bit more like close-ups here, but good Elf Quest value. This one is Antarctic Press, and I got this just to check it out. I thought it might be a little power comic-y looking at the cover, right? Looking at like some of these like skulls, and it looks like maybe they airbrushed or something. This might be like real airbrush or something. I don't know, but you get inside, and it is story, art, and colors by Hiroshi Kanatani and Matt Frank for page 1. So this is Hiroshi Kanatani. So I don't know if this is brought over from Japan and translated to English, or if this is just Antarctic Press putting this Japanese name guy out. But here's the character, Lion Maru. And so this looks fun and kind of power comic-y at the same time, but it's all full color, and it's got that definite Asian vibe, the Singapore vibe, or the Hong Kong vibe. But there's like something a little off about the professionality.
Professionalism.
Professionalism, thank you. And this is part of some kind of like Antarctic Press imprint called Phase 6.
So can I just jump in for a second? I watch Uncle Ben done YouTube when he does get on and rant and promote. But Antarctica Press should not be shunned because it's very much like AC Comics, that
Yeah.
they are indie publishers. So
Yes, they've been
you
around.
can submit to them. So the
Yes.
majority of what you're seeing and you're showing is, Ben Dunn and his brother own Antarctic Press, and they've gone through the highs and lows of comics
Yeah,
since
they've been around.
late 70s, I guess. I think they started in like 80 or 79 or something.
Yeah,
But man,
I thought
Uncle Ben, he is just, still putting stuff together. But the thing I just want to say is, like, he's doing it from his heart as much as he can, but there's realities. But if you're like, let's say, manga centric, you kind of lean into, maybe even family friendly, or you have a book, you don't want to go through the whole publishing thing. First off, go watch his channel, because he really does say everything out loud and open. He's not hiding anything. He talks about the rates, the initial, how much he pays, how much he pays out at the beginning.
Talking about sales figures?
Yeah, I mean, not sales, because he can't predict how well your show's going to.
No, I mean, but after the fact.
Yeah. But the thing is that he's he has everything down in a very established process. But here's the rub. Be prepared to be rejected, and he says this, but also be prepared to get the notes to help improve. So if you are new at comics and you think you have something, send your shit over to Ben Dunn at Antarctic Press and get the rejection, excuse me, with all the notes on what you need to change, because he's got a deeper heartbeat about how an indie comic can be made, family friendly, let's say, on that side of the fence, but also can get pushed out and sold. Because the last time I heard, they're doing like really small runs, almost like Eli Schwab, who I would not put in being around since the 80s, but is taking the same approach. Like, don't be afraid to submit to Cosmic Lion. Be prepared for the, I don't believe they call it rejection. I think they call it like notes, like feedback notes, like, you're not quite there, but if you can make these adjustments, like, I mean, I say this all the time. I love feedback. I love when it's really brutal and honest. I mean, and when I talk feedback, I'm like, let's go back to, I'm going to call myself out again. Matt and Jake said, when in this area, they were making comments that my work was too gray, right? Ooh, wait a second. There's no camera. Now, hold on a second. Let me bring my camera.
Muddy waters, yeah.
So there wasn't enough black being spotted in here and everything like that. That is beautiful feedback that I could not quite receive when I was in the flow. I did make an adjustment because these are the next 2 pages. You can see that. But once I got it in print, man, I could have done more. And I can still do more because this is a teaser. So the final pages of Turbo Pit Fighter #1 is going to have a lot of edits, which is going to drive Jake crazy in getting those pages who have already gone through the, editing, Jake editor processing from there. But look, if you're in this game making a comic book and want to make comics and everything, look for publishers who are willing to give you feedback. And Ben Dunn has said it on his site that is one of the big things and stuff. Eli Schwab of Cosmic Lion, the same kind of thing.
Right, and I remember, like, Antarctic has been around for a long time. I think they used to do some like spicy stuff, some mature books back in the day, but this is what they're doing now in 2022, and it looks like there's like these little imprints, Spectre Man Heroes, Phase 6. You know, they even give you the contact for the person responsible for the imprint. And yeah, get feedback. You know, it might not. You know, it might like there's a project. There might be a project that's not for Antarctica,
Yeah.
but you know, but
But they
you
might
know,
even point you in the direction there is. You
yep.
know?
So here is Dead World from Arrow, and I don't think I have too many of these, but this wasn't bagged, so I looked inside, and I like this kind of inking style. It kind of reminds me of, and it's a little cartoony, but this is, you know,
Jake, can you move over to the right? Like you're on the left side of your camera. Like literally, you are on the left side of your camera. Like if you could keep going to your right, we could actually see the left page. Like keep going. Like literally, just yeah, keep going, keep going. That's perfect because I have you on full screen. So if you're now, we can see the whole spread. Thank you.
yeah. So here is a comic from 1988. And they list the distributors here on the inside front cover. Andromeda Publications, Bud Plant, Capital City, remember them?
Yep.
Pavco, Comics Hawaii, Comics Unlimited, Diamond, Friendly Franks, Multi-Book and Periodical, Second Genesis, Southern Fantasies, Styx International, Titan, and Westfield Comics. I mean, we had more than a dozen distributors back in these days. You know, I say we, I mean like, you know, comic creators, and you know, Antarctic was always like, you know, Antarctic was always like, you know, interesting because they were like alphabetically first, right? Always. Um, I haven't gotten too many of these Dead Worlds before. This is number 9. It says for mature audiences because it's kind of gory, but this was zombie stuff, and I bet Dead World is pretty pissed that The Walking Dead became, you know, such a big Hollywood hit, and Dead World, you know, got passed over. Oh well, maybe they got an offer too, but they didn't want to like, you know, sign a deal with the devil. Um, but Dead World was around. Um, Here is Big Bang Comics from Image, number 4, 1996. And speaking of AC comics, this looks like it could be an AC comic. They're trying to do this whole retro thing, and this looks like old comics actually inside. But is this like is this reprinting, or is this like brand new stuff? I think this is brand new stuff that's just meant to look old, and it's got Hitler in it. Yeah. So somebody got inspired by, you know, the old Justice League or the old Justice whatever, you know, society, and they started making some new comics here. So this looks like an interesting comic for Image. It's a little bit of a breakaway from their usual, but in 1996 they were experimenting with all kinds of stuff. I mean, this is when Kurt and I were doing our stuff too, 1996. Alpha Flight number 2. Why did I buy this? I bought this because it's $1, and I wanted to show people how, how, I guess, invaluable, how not valuable Alpha Flight was. The entire series is available in the dollar bins, including number 2, and you just can't find number 1, but you know, everything else. This is in good condition. So, you know, just because something is a classic Marvel property, you know, this is from 1983, doesn't mean it's valuable today. And this was John Byrne's vehicle. After he, you know, had the X-Men, they gave him Alpha Flight to run with it, story and art. And then he just had a letterer and a colorist. And he also had a piece of the back end for Alpha Flight. And they did sell at the time, and you know, I'm sure he's made, you know, money off it, but it's just interesting that it's only worth $1 nowadays. there's a backup story here, the origins of Alpha Flight in the beginning. So that's why I got that. Power Pack, I recommend comic book artists buy Power Pack. And I say that because the artist is one of the best, if not the best, at drawing kids into proportion. Like, this is going to sound weird, but drawing a kid is really hard because depending how old they are, from like 2 all the way up to like, teenager, their head is a different proportion from an adult. And it's hard enough drawing heads the right size and proportion on bodies, when you're a comic artist. So drawing kids is really, really challenging. But this guy, and I'm trying to catch his name. His name is, her name, June Brigman. So Power Pack was written by Louise Simonson, and this is number 2. This was the lowest number I could find. I wasn't gonna buy like a whole bunch of these, but they had the whole run of Power Pack for $1, and so I got the lowest number they had, number 2. And June Brigman is really good, and I think we can all learn from June Brigman. So these are great to have handy whenever I'm drawing like kids, children, young turbo, whatever. I might flip through some of this and just say, yeah, you got to get those heads right, those proportions right. Here I got the Uncanny X-Men number 156. This is Dave Cockrum. So this is still the good old days. I know this was probably like when they went back to Dave Cockrum after John Byrne. But he was still around, and real cool Dave Cockrum X-Men. Why did I get this for $1? Well, it's a little rumpled here. You can maybe see. All these X-Men from, all the way from X-Men 94, is it, or 96? The giant size X-Men number 1, and then X-Men 96. All the way through, for like 20 years, it was the number 1 comic in Marvel. This is 1980, and they hold their value. If this was in good shape, there's no way it would be $1. No way. But here you can see the classic Dave Cockrum X-Men fighting these. This is the Starjammers. And this was stuff that Chris Claremont had been working on for years. And you get through the John Byrne years, and then you get back to Cockrum here. There was an inker here, Bob Wyacek. A Claremont, Cockrum, Wyacek, Chang, and Warfield Jones Shooter production. They don't say who does what. Reader copy. Here's King Conan number 5. This is from the 80s, early 80s. This is 1981. Open it up. John Buscema. So I'm in. Inks by Danny Bulanadi. Bulanadi, sorry. And this is an adaptation of Conan the Avenger, which was a paperback by L. Sprague de Camp and Bjorn Nyberg. And so how cool is it when they can make these comics that are just adapting a book?
That's Roy Thomas right there.
Yes, Roy Thomas, writer, editor. So King Conan number 5. So I'm really getting into collecting Conans and Conan magazines a little more, but I'm not going to just buy anyone. It's got to be a good artist. Here's some Ernie Chan pinup in the back. This is an Ernie Chan portfolio actually in the back. So these are nice little bonus content. And look at this. Here's Ernie Chan doing Red Sonja too. And so it's worth grabbing Conan's. Here's Ed Piskor for $1. Free comic book day.
Oh, Red Room.
Yeah.
Takes you back to COVID 2020 here, everybody.
Well, yeah, this is 2021, which was still COVID. But yeah,
He was making during COVID. He was making that comic. It was the biggest thing that they, one of the big things that they would constantly, share was what they were working on. Ed and Jim, and
yeah, real interesting stuff. I love how he has this kind of like off-white paper for most of it, but then look what he does. He has the bright white for the word balloons or for certain accent.
No fool.
And that's pretty original. Pretty original. So he's basically like, he's basically like printing a color tint here. It's probably like, I want to guess it's probably like 5% magenta and like maybe like 7% yellow. It mixes together and it just.
Yeah, he actually tells you. He told us what the
Oh really?
Do. Oh yeah, man. That's why that show was just such it was all about the craft, and sharing.
So here so here, like, he's got some interesting storytelling. He's doing this through like a real modern lens of like digital stuff, and he's using this dot matrix font here, which I do like. But then when you get to so this is supposed to be like somebody doing a live stream and maybe like a kidnapper situation or something, and there's a little more explainer here. I haven't read all this, but I have a problem when you get to here because he's doing these other kind of like social media posts, right? Like everything is in like a phone format and scrolling. But my big complaint is, please, everybody listening, never use Helvetica, never use Arial. Just don't do it. Find something else. Like, don't use any of the default fonts in Microsoft Word. Please. Okay? That's the only complaint I have. I mean, like, look here. Also, a Times New Roman. Why not just do this dot matrix font that you have here, right? Which gives you a little more of like a. So I think maybe this is like going through the years of computers, but here in the back, this beautiful artwork here, but Legacy of Brutality, of course, is the famous name of a Misfits album. And so I'm not sure what this is here, but I think this is like another section where they're doing sequential comics, which they called Legacy of Brutality, and they have this mask which goes through the story. Then you get all the way to the back here, you got some cartoony stuff with color. And I don't know if this is Ed or he's using this in different people, but somebody's up in a treehouse and antics ensue. There's this creepy character, this ghoulish little creature. So this looks good because it's like, little kids with big heads, and it's like, oh, this is like for kids. This is cartoony. But
Switchblade Shorties.
Oh, is that what this is?
Is it?
It just says Juniper.
Oh, I think this is the first iteration of then what becomes his last comic series, which was Switchblade Shorties. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a great pickup. Here we go. Anne McCaffrey, Dragonflight. And I know you have some connections to the dragon subgenre.
Oh, I do. Why do you say that?
Don't you have your dragon buddy?
My what? Oh, you're talking about Matt Stawicki.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Well, so Anne McCaffrey, that name, if I'm not mistaken, is a fiction writer of paperbacks or novels, right? A novelist. But here we have a comic called Anne McCaffrey Dragonflight. I don't know if anybody's in the chat or has a free hand and you want to just fact check that, but I believe Anne McCaffrey, if I remember right, is a novelist that has the Dragon series, different Dragon series. But here we get to this comic, and it's adapted by Bryn Stevens, illustrated by Leila Dowling and Cynthia Martin. Eclipse Books, Forestville, California. So this is Eclipse Comics. And this comes out in 1991. And it looks like it's fully painted insides that are not too bad. And it looks like, there's some kind of dragon theme going on here. So for all you dragon riders out there, um, the art looks good. I'm looking for more dragons in flight here and stuff. But yeah, there's a story to it. So interesting. Maybe I'll take a read of this. It's not numbered, so it looks like a one shot or a one off from Eclipse back in the day, and and connects to the name Anne McCaffrey. So, and it's also like a perfect bound, which you don't see too much. Comics could be perfect bound a lot more often, in which case you get like this little spine that you can write on. But yeah, interesting piece here. We do have some comments here. Let's see. Saboteur said, "That's how I did it. So I printed all my books, then ran the Kickstarter, so I can make up the cost of printing. I sent them out right. Oh, you read that already. I have backed so many books. Some don't show up, and it's been over a year now, and I still have no books. So it's really left a bad taste in my mouth, unfortunately. Yeah, and that sucks, man. If you back a comic and it doesn't come out and never get anything. So what you're doing is you're really persona non grata at that point. And no one's ever going to trust you again. But what's to prevent you from just putting something out under a different name and just a pseudonym? So this is hard to read. I think it says laser eraser and press button. Speaking of Eclipse Comics, this is Kathy Ironwood, editor in 1985. So these are real early indie comics, full color. Art is good. I remember the press button. There was like something called Axel Press Button, which is I think this person like maybe broke out into solo adventures. It's sci-fi. The person's like a human head on a robot body. Maybe that will connect to our sentience. There's fighting here. There's action. It's kind of like overly colorful. Looks like a bowl of fruity pebbles some places. But here and then yeah. So this is a number one. Eclipse Comics Laser Eraser and Press Button. And then you get to it's a short story. And you get to a backup here, The Iniquity from Antiquity, art Steve Dillon. These are Steve Dillon stories with art, with this kind of like, I don't know, these colors are a little bit in my face, but they're colorful. This is what it looks like. Oh, this is nice. What's this?
Yeah.
So we get to Twilight World at the end. It looks like a different artist.
Is it him? Is it him as the writer, and then these are all short stories being illustrated?
Well, Pedro Henry is the script, and Steve Dillon is art. And then when we get to the second story, it is same thing: Pedro Henry and Steve Dillon. Then when
this one?
Then we get to this one. It doesn't say.
Huh.
It just says Twilight World. And it looks like a different art style to me. And it's only like a 5-pager. It says to be continued. So, I don't know. The back of Laser Eraser and Press One. But, Eclipse Comics had all of these, indie artists working for them. So they probably just said, all right, let's run this 5-pager to be continued. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages. Not a bad comic. A number one, this little spine damage there. Here's Conan Classic. Not going to spend too much time on this. This Conan Classic number 3 is reprinting the Barry Windsor Smith Conans. This originally appeared in
number 2.
It doesn't say, but this
number 2.
Yeah, it looks really, really. I mean, if this is number 3, that means they were.
Or maybe it was number 3 and they were reprinting it consecutively. But that's Barry Windsor Smith right there.
That's right, and it says copyright 1970, reprints in 71 and 94.
It's either issue 2 or 3, because he's not locked into his
Well, let's see if they have
Red
the original
nails.
cover in the
Red
back.
nails.
Reader reaction to Conan Classic #1 is beginning
That's
to trickle
3.
in, and yes,
That's
it'll. Yeah. Yeah. So this is probably #3, and I got to. I have to call out the coloring. You know, when they do reprints, they don't even credit who the colorist is, and the reason is because they really shortcut the coloring on these reprints. This is not how the comic appeared. Also, the ink is a little bit heavier here and kind of like blobby. I'll show you what I mean. Like, it's not like I would much rather see like a vintage Barry Windsor Smith. I held in my hand Conan #1, 2, 3. I read them all in the comic book store when I was 12. I worked at a comic shop and I got my hands on all the great Conans and read them all in their original format. These colors suck. This all sucks. This color it doesn't print good. And not that the original colors on Conan #1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. were great, because that was Marvel in the 70s, and printing can be off, and by the time you get a copy in your hand, who knows? Probably today the pages are all yellow anyway. But this just sucked. This came out in 1994, and I do not like seeing Barry Windsor Smith recolored in 1994. Although it was only $1. Here's Hero Alliance, and I think I picked up like 2 or 3 of these. Innovation Graphics, I think they called it, and this was their superhero operation here. This is number 15. Hero Alliance went through 2 volumes. So there might have even been a Hero Alliance Volume 1. This is Volume 2, 1991. And yeah, full color comics, decent quality. The art is Mark Jones. And then special sequences illustrated by George Broderick, Eddie Newell, and Mike Witherby. And I don't know if it holds up today for people reading superhero group comics, indie, stuff like this, like the Hero Alliance. I couldn't name a single person, character or anything, but the art looks really good. The artist looks really good. Here they kick into some other kind of style, and then but it looks good. They're using some Zipatone here, which really just pops out as like, we're from the 80s, hello, or the 90s, welcome back. This is a great panel right here. Va va boom, right? She's getting into something a little more comfortable. Oh, hello, and then we're getting to the.
Now they're comfortable.
Yes, well, this is very soft, love scenes here. But, this was the difference between Marvel and Innovation. This was why you had indie comics making, their stuff, so they could just say, hey, let's have some, nudity from the back where you can kind of see some stuff.
And the fan base was getting older. They weren't teenagers. Yeah. They weren't even in their 20s anymore. They were in their 30s and 40s.
Yep. And this is not a bad comic. So I might actually buy some more Hero Alliances if I see them in the wild. They're plugging Innovation Comics. You had Anne Rice, The Master of Rambling Gate, The Vampire Companion, Child's Play, the series. I guess that was like they were already serializing Chucky. Flair First Edition. This is when Flair was with Innovation before it moved over. John Bolton's posters, The Maze Agency by Mike W. Barr, Necromancer, Terry Collins, Neon City #1, Nick Anastasio and Joe Dunn, The Color of Magic, Scott Rockwell, and Torchy #2, Bill Ward's classic cheesecake.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, great moment in time. Innovation Corporation from Wheeling, West Virginia. Unbelievable. West Virginian Um, Here, oh my, my heart just like sings when I see this. This is Jack Kirby, PC Comics Captain Victory number 11. This is hand painted covers. I love seeing Jack Kirby when there's no Marvel, no DC. It's just him and his inker doing whatever the hell he wants. He's selling comics. He's putting stuff out. I don't know if the money all worked out for him. The poor guy. He spent a lot of time waiting for a payday from Marvel. The settlement didn't come until after he was dead. I don't know if DC ever paid the estate, but I know the Marvel settlement was undisclosed, probably 7 figures, or if not, plus back end. Um, Here's First Comics Grimjack, and what a beautiful cover. This is number 41, and I read the whole thing. So Grimjack was just a real series. They were off and running. I mean, not too many indie series get into the 40s. Same creative team. But Grimjack was Truman, right? Tim
Yeah.
Truman? Yeah. So created by Ostrander and Truman. And this one is not Truman art. This is Tom Mandrake art. But it's pretty good. And they kept things going. I guess Tim Truman at this point was doing something else. Look at this. This is why I bought this. Just this one page. They have this character, and she looks a little like Medusa, but she's got her own little bikini thing going on with a chain, and she kicks some ass here, stomping some of his lights out, but then she gets kicked in the head because Grimjack has to win, of course. Some of the art is a little bit awkward in some places. We've got a backup story here by Stephen Sullivan and Hilary Barta. But I don't like this cartoony stuff so much. Not my cup of tea. But yeah, Grimjack. So I bought a couple of Grimjacks. They had the whole run. So I got the lowest number. I mean, this was a different store. This was down in Florida. But I bought the whole run. I mean, they had the whole run. I bought the lowest numbers I could get, and I bought a handful. I may make 3 or 4 of them. But this was like a higher number that I bought at a different place, actually. I got this at Ollie's. And the last piece I'm going to show here is the Atomica sketchbook. And I did this already on my Substack live stream.
Go to the right, Jake. Go to the right.
But I wanted to, when I go to the right, I'm actually going to the left on the screen. So I wanted to show a couple pages of this because it's an interesting piece, and I think it's worth a little money if you look this up. This was the A1 sketchbook published by Atomica in 2004 with a lot of different artists in here. But Atomica had a lot of different characters and creators. Mr. Monster by Michael T. Gilbert, Flaming Carrot by Bob Burton, Tank Girl. You have the Warp Smiths, Wolfgar, Wasted Lands, Gary Leach, Kimota, and Mr. Monster, Actress and Bishop, Loopy Lizzie, Bricktop. So there's all these Girl Satan and Raging Rod. You had all these like indie creators from the day, some of whom you might have never heard of because this is 20-something years ago. They all had their character, but they all pitched in to make this sketchbook. And there's a lot of pages in here. It feels like maybe like 60 pages or more. Everybody had like 2 or 3 or 4 pages, and it looks like this. So some of the stuff is a little nudity. Some of the stuff they're showing the characters. This guy, Steve Pugh, is amazing. I don't know what Steve Pugh did. I might actually stop and punch in that name to see what Steve Pugh has done because like it reminds me of Rock and Jelly Bean, right? And I wonder if he did any sequential stuff. If so, what? So let's go live on the air and do a search. Steve Pugh is a British comic book artist who has worked for DC, Marvel, Dark Horse, and 2000 AD. Working on Hellblazer for DC's Vertigo. He is known for doing both pencil and art. He's got an Instagram right here. And so this is up to lately. And I guess he's still doing Vertigo, End of Life. He's doing End of Life #6 for Vertigo. And it looks like really nice painted covers. Oh boy. Vertigo is still coming out nowadays, I guess. The DC like mature imprint. Here's #1.
I don't think so.
No?
I don't know.
Oh, this was
I don't know.
This was from July. Yeah, this is just came out. Yeah, in stores today.
Oh, that's what it says?
Yep, End of Life by Vertigo. So here's Steve Pugh, a British. Look, he looks so British. He's putting out comics to this day. Great artist. And this is his Insta. So let me make sure I follow that. I don't know if I'm following here from Doom Mag. It would be good if I was, but I might be doing it from the art teacher. Yeah, and it goes on like this. So great piece. A friend gave me this, which is a nice little gift. My friend Rick gave me this. But a lot of cool stuff in here, and I don't know what it's worth, but I wanted to share that. So it's Atomica A1 sketchbook. It sold at the time in the 2004 for $10, and I'm gonna put it back in the bag where it belongs. So that is my report and another segment of comics that influence in the books. Thanks for bearing with me. Some cool stuff from these dollar bins, and I got plenty more to go through. I have an entire short box that I'm going to go through little by little, and we'll get through it one of these days. But this stack, I can now move to the reading pile, where I might never read it, but I might. We'll see. And this is the stuff that. Yeah, I went over this stuff. Here's the other Shuriken #1. I try to put these things like together when I have like the Conan mags. Try to keep them together. Yeah, I showed these. Wait, I did this one with you on the air, right?
Oh yeah, I'm looking for a copy of that. My comic shop doesn't have it.
I can't believe I didn't buy the other copy. There was 2 copies there. I can't believe I left.
It's all right. I have forgiven you.
Yeah. But great stuff. All right, so I just want to make sure I went over all this stuff. So yes, I did. I'm filling up a short box with the outgoing pile. All right, back to the grind. So yeah, we passed the halfway point for summer vacation. It's now August, and I'm not sure what I want to try to get done before, we have to start thinking about going back. I was going to go out last night or Friday night to see Shonen Knife. Shonen Knife came to the Lower East Side in Bleecker Street, or the lower, I guess that's the West Side. But I didn't get to see them because it was an early show, and by the time I got my crap together, like it said 7:30 show, so
they were back in Japan.
Right. And Shonen Knife, for anybody who doesn't know, is a great kind of like punk pop group from Osaka.
Awesome.
They have really funny lyrics and really great tunes, and I saw them live in Brooklyn had to be 10 years ago. It was just a fucking amazing show, and they're still around. They're not as old as the 5, 6, 7, 8s. The the 5, 6, 7, 8s are kind of getting a little bit long in the tooth, and it affects their playing because they did some like real high flying crazy stuff. But everybody knows who I'm talking about. The 5, 6, 7, 8s are the all girl Japanese garage band that plays in the Kill Bill sequence, and they had a minor hit with "Woohoo, Woohoo." Shonen Knife is a little different. I don't know if they had any like hits, but when my kids were little, we used to sing "Sushi Bar, Sushi Bar." I love Sushi Bar. I want to go to a sushi bar. I want to go right here. It's so fun to go with you. Traditional Japanese meal. I want to. Yeah, great stuff. So I'm probably not doing it justice, but Shonen Knife, ladies and gentlemen. I don't really have any shows that I have tickets for, so maybe I need to go and scout that out. But if you're ever in New York, there's a great website called Oh My Rockness, where you can find all these great bands in the smaller clubs. And there's also Brooklyn Vegan, which covers everything from like big to little, and they have like reviews and stuff. Oh, and my band actually got written up, or that we got our photo in this. Let me show you. I don't plug my band enough, but we actually got our picture in the Manhattan Beat, and it looks like this. When we're playing live at Auto Shrunken Head, this guy comes out and he took our photo, and he does listings, and so he put us in Manhattan. Yeah, there we are. There's the Bonguls. That's me screaming my mouth out. My mouth looks like a Sal Buscema mouth. And that's my nephew on bass, Griffin. And that's my drummer. You can't really see. That's Max, the guitar player. And that's Steve. This is my buddy Steve. And Steve is a kind of a crazy guy. He's another teacher, but he's on the crazy side. And Steve is getting his FF1 pressed right now. He's going to be selling his FF collection, and he's got FF1, so he's getting it steamed and pressed at the comics cleaners, so that he could try to upgrade it. I think it's like a 3 or 4. I think it's like a 3 point something. So he's gonna try to get that up into the 4s. I don't know how much it costs to press FF1, but he's my longtime bandmate, and he used to be my drummer, but now he's my keyboard player for a long time. Ever since 2010, he switched over to keys. Amazing musician, honestly, but quite a character. So shout out to Steve. I think I'm done with this panel, at least for now. I'm going to move on. I got the van down here. So the dialogue on this page is, what's that? Heavy arms fire detected. Mr. Ike's tech shop 500 yards. I was thinking about switching this and putting this up here and putting heavy arms fire detected down here. I guess it doesn't matter that much. I might just be overthinking, but these are kind of like little word balloons of Gopher, the robot, saying this, to Turbo and Trophy. And they're about to pick up Mr. Ike in their little, fellowship, or their little traveling band here. And Kurt, we haven't discussed this yet, but we're going to be going to a format of hand lettering right on the art, whereas Turbo #1 had empty word balloons that we filled on computer.
What are you talking about?
Well, I'm drawing the word balloons right on the art for Turbo #2.
But I'm not hand lettering them on the art.
Not yet, but we could.
Nah, I'm sorry. Nah, I this is news to me. I don't remember having this conversation because so look, to cut to the chase, our biggest fear, our number one fear with Turbo Pit Fighter being every Sunday from 10 to 1 is the consistency. Like, my biggest fear is that we're going to be on issue 6 when I'm in my 60s, and I'm still going to have to, and I'm still going to have to draw this way. You know what I mean? In process, like I've already kind of like left. I mean, I'm still close to this. Like, it doesn't give me any kind of like, Jesus, I got to eat that way. You know, for Turbo, it doesn't have that yet, but you know, I'm super, because you're not a fan of my rushed hand lettering.
Oh no, I could do the lettering.
Oh, so then I would send you the pages?
I mean, we're talking digital at that point.
I wouldn't.
Right?
Yeah, but that's my thing. Is like, I thought we have the hand font by you grabbing, you know, almost an entire issue of, well, I guess I think it was like 15 pages I hand lettered and sent you those scans, or they were actually, I scanned them and then placed them as a layer in Photoshop, you know, and dropped them over the balloons, and then you tweaked them because you had, you know, I have a tendency to, you know, rush, you know, and my hand will kind of make squishy S's into G's and, you know, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Why are you bringing that? Like, where are you coming from in saying that we were going to hand letter straight to the pages? Like, I could have a senior moment here, and I'm totally failing our fans as well. You know, our people coming in here because.
No, well, that's what I'm bringing it up. Let's discuss it. There's a million ways to skin a cat, and
I think book.
Yeah. For the process, as we got better, I thought that it was better for for the workflow to at least have them on the page in pencil. You know.
Sure. It helps.
You know.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
But then, yeah, we do need to decide what to do after that. You know, the good thing is that, you know, if it makes things fit better and like, you know, less adjustment and everything later. You know, sometimes we change things last minute, so there's all these different you know, pros and cons. But you know, when you're selling original art, it usually does not have the lettering, and it usually doesn't even have the balloons. So we're a little bit different, you know, anyway with that, I guess. I wonder, you know, I wonder like how many original art, what percentage of original art sales have like the lettering?
Here it is. So one of the stories that will be appearing in World Anthology number 2 is the second part, the John Molina's Crom and the layer, the Serpent's Lair. So, but here's the thing I did, and this is kind of like one of the places I'm venturing towards. Not that I want everything I do to be like the same. So, because I ink this, and then I started inking. Jamie Burroughs Crom. So this is still me. Like, this is still me inking. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm exploring different technique in approaching these gray values and stuff. But with this, they're pencil by John Molina. Then I made my own digital screen, and then it's just one screen value. It's like a 30, maybe 40% gray value.
Yeah.
And then I cut it out and I print that 100%, but the text I keep down at about 15 or 20% and hand ink it. So yes, this entire comic book, well, it's like 18 pages up there right now, is completely inked and lettered. Oh, you got this upside
Right
down.
on the page.
On the page. So I love that idea, but just to kind of
No, you're right though. I'm too finicky. I'm too finicky. So
that's
either
one thing, but it's also like it's really jammed in. Like there
yeah.
is, but you finesse it when you're in, Quark or
I
Photoshop.
would right. So yeah, we might just bring it back to me, and then I lay in Photoshop the letters. That sounds like it's quick and dirty. Yeah, yeah. That might be the way to go. But the other thing could be send the originals, and I draw them in by hand. I think the shipping would probably be the biggest
I wouldn't ship it.
downside of that.
I wouldn't ship them. I'd drive them up to you.
Right, or
And there's no way I wouldn't be able to sleep. I'd rather leave at like 5 o'clock in the morning, drop them off, and then have lunch, and then turn right back up and get home by 10 o'clock. I mean,
it's only 3 hours. We can meet halfway.
Yeah, I mean, we could meet at exit 11.
That would probably be like the like some kind of like roadside filling station, or what do they call it?
No, you get the at Jersey Turnpike. There's a rest area. I can't remember. I don't know. No, the Whitney Houston's on Garden State Parkway, right? Because I stop at the Gandolfini, James Gandolfini, up by you.
That's way up. Yeah, they have the Bon Jovi too now.
Yeah. I think no, that's not the one. It's some. Anyways, there's one that I because I do the garden.
Cheesequake. I think the Cheesequake one is down by the shore. It's on the way to the shore.
Yeah. Anyhow, it's I don't want to squash anything, but I definitely want our pages to have that preparation in order for it to be easier in the know. Like I know, and so when you arrive, you're not like, oh, this ain't gonna fucking work. You know what I mean? Like this isn't gonna work like the way I thought it was gonna work.
Yeah. So as I think now, it'll probably just be the same way we're doing, but if they're on the page and they're kicked back light, that's definitely a helper. I mean, I have my pencil pages I could refer to anyway, so. We're definitely gonna speed up.
Things are gonna change, but I'm just hoping everything is still functional physically and mentally for both of us as we're getting to,
Right.
The finale, issue number 6, because we're right now both of us are in issue number 2 because I finished issue 1 inking. You have lettered up to 18, right? We have 10 more pages to letter.
Oh yeah, so you're gonna have to tell me when we're transitioning into that because I could just be doing that.
Yeah, but we were giving you a respite to not be basically the letterer and editor for a year and a half. It's not fair. It's not fair that I get to see.
Oh no, I love doing this, but you're also gonna need these pencils too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I have 20-something pages though of pencils.
Yeah, and then
I was thinking this.
That's what I'm working on.
I know. I'm thinking this is that let you pencil to the end of the year, end of August. So you have at least your summer per se to be relaxed in drawing, and then September, then just kick back into inking mode.
September
lettering mode. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that movie also called Song Sung Blue, but with
I want to see that. Yeah, I'm gonna see that.
Hugh Jackman. I won't tell you too much about it. The setup is that it is a Neil Diamond impersonator, and I don't know if it was based on a true story or not, but It's just like these really heartwarming performances by Hugh Jackman and um, what's her name? Goldie Hawn's kid. What's her name again?
I always forget too.
Oh, but she stole the show, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, I think she might be. Might have gotten nominated. I don't know because it was really good. Like it seemed like an Academy worthy performance. Kate Hudson was her name. Yeah, Kate Hudson. So
Sorry, Kate.
it was not the greatest movie I've ever seen, but it was heartwarming and really it kind of like brings the Neil Diamond songbook to a new generation in a way. Um, so it's on cable. I wanted to see it a long time ago. I finally got around to it. So um, Song Sung Blue by with starring Hugh Jackman as a Neil Diamond impersonator. What else is going? Oh, I wanted to mention that I have. Shoot, I have a graphic for. Oh, I just had these emails. So I'm going to be in 2 days. It's August. In 3 days, it's Wednesday, August 5th. So guess where Jake is going? Um, I'm going to Sunnyside, Brooklyn, or Sunnyside is that Queens or Brooklyn? I think it's on the border of Queens and Brooklyn. But I'm going to Sunnyside to do a life drawing, and it's a walk-in where you pay, I think it's $5 to $15 sliding scale, and it's only clothed models, but they kind of here it is. I got it right here. Oh, this place. I found it. I'm going on Wednesday, and I'm psyched because I'm off for the summer and I can do crazy stuff like this. So and there is a comic book connection here. So this is Will, Will. Don't know his last name, but he runs a twice a month zine club. And if anybody wants to see, this is like let's see, the first and third Wednesday of every month. Oh, so I guess I'm doing that. Oh no, I'm confused. I think August 5th is the live drawing, but I guess that's the second and fourth Wednesday of every month is the live drawing. But he's got this studio in Industry City in Sunnyside, and the Zine Club is the first and third Wednesday of every month from 6:30 to 8:30. Fun. It says, come join our community of mixed media zine makers and create beautiful books. Materials provided: paper, drawing tools, collage materials, scissors, glue, stapler, block printing tools, gel plates, and more. Sliding scale $10 to $20, not a problem. And this is the kind of great, community-based kind of like, do-it-yourself stuff that's going on in Brooklyn that you don't see up here where I live in the suburbs, And so I'm dying to get down there. And then they have life drawing every other week too. And I don't have the card for that, but I'm going to try to go to one of each, and then I'll pick, which one I like better because, do it the zine club. I'm probably just going to go like bring a whole bunch of comics and work on my comics and just hang out with all these Brooklyn zine makers. That sounds like a lot of fun. The Will guy is also a really, really nice guy. I spoke to him at length at the, I think the Mocha Con or some con or the other, and super nice guy. So I'm looking forward to that. Then I went to this thing in Brooklyn called a drink. It was a drink and draw, and they do it once a month at this bar in Brooklyn called Mama Tried. And I heard of it because I was trying to book a gig at Mama Tried for our band. They have this great backyard space, or it's kind of like really like a side yard space where it's like an outdoor stage, and and some of it is covered and some of it is not, and then it's like all these tables. So I was like, oh man, we got to get a gig there. Then I was looking at their calendar, and they have a drink and draw once a month. So I went last Thursday, I think, and you walk in and there's like maybe like 7 or 8 people at a table all drawing and just talking and shooting the breeze and drinking and mai tais and all that. So I had a great time doing that, and I met. So I brought out my comic because somebody was asking me about it. So I run out to the car, get my comic, and I gave a copy of Malady. I traded a copy of Malady for this and this. I guess I got 2 for 1. But I met this lady named Heather, and she made this comic with her daughter, Sloan. And I was looking, I've been looking for examples of, like child and adult collaborations. And then I just sit down at this table, and this is what she did with her daughter. And she had 2 issues here. What you face is what you get.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this has 4 amazing stories. This is number 1, and this is number 2. 3 amazing stories. So I was like, oh, cool. I was like, how old was your daughter when you started it? And she was like 8. So I was like, all right. So this is like just like elementary school stuff. So I was like, well, then how does it work? Like with the art, like who does what? And she goes like, it just totally goes back and forth. And so they're just like layering on top of each other's work. And so it looks like this, but this story looks like this, but some of the other art looks more like this. I have a feeling this is like more mom than the kid, but it's all fun. It looks great. And what a thrill, because I remember being in 5th grade. How old are you when you're in 5th grade? Like 10 or something? And I remember this guy named Bob Sievert came to our class, and he was like one of these like visiting artists, and he had us all do like a page of art, of like comics art, drawing, whatever. And then he went away, got it printed. Remember, this is like in the 70s. Yeah, this was like 1977 or something. And he brought it back printed, and we all got to see this little book with our page on it. And when I saw my page in print, like something happened in me where like I was like, whoa, I want to do that more, right? And it was really funny because you remember in the 70s they used to have this like printing where it was like printed on the page, but it was like raised. You know what I'm talking about? Like the line would be raised. I think it was like thermographic or thermo.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
Yeah, I remember. So it was like really. So it was like the artwork gets really blobby and it gets really raised, right? So if you're trying to do like too much fine detail, like hatching or shading, a lot of it gets lost. But I remember like something happened to me. Like I want to make stuff that gets reproduced. I want to make copies.
Yeah.
I remember that feeling like when Xerox machines got to be big, and there was like these Xerox shops. I can just go to the store and get something, like duplicated. Like what? So I was like, that's why I was making all these comics, right? Like Nightmares of Utter Dread and all that, right? So like this one. By the way, I sent a copy to Matt King, and that leaves me with like 2 copies.
Well, that's easy. You just give me the other one.
Well, it was really hard setting a price. I was like, what do I charge for this? And he was just like, I think he gave me like $10 a comic for a copy of Doom and a copy of of Malady and then a copy of that. But I'm down to, I have 1 copy that's on white paper, 1 copy that's on green. Oh no, I have 2 copies on green paper and 1 copy on white paper, and then I have the original art. So look, this is This is my inventory, my remaining inventory, Nightmares of Utter Dread. But you know, I got the bug, and you know, this is the first thing I ever really like finished. You know,
Cool. Hey, Jake,
and
we are 12 minutes past 1. So, like most, I want to go get lunch. So, they might be hungry. But yeah, let's bring it in. Another great episode, if you will. I almost finished page 5. So, things are rolling along, at least
yeah,
on the edge.
I'm gonna finish these pencils before the day is out. I usually, when we finish on air, I usually go solo on
Yeah.
Substack.
Yep.
So I'm probably gonna live stream in a little while. But then I also, you know, because I also want to finish this because I finished last week after we spoke. I finished this page.
Oh, shit.
This is page 20. Uh,
6.
hold on, 20. This is page 25, and this is page 26. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm marking that 26. Yeah. So yeah, it's a really good feeling to finish a page a week. You know, it's a great pace. Just pencil. But look, the lettering. Like I really took my time to do the lettering here. You know, because I want to try to like work it out so the lettering is kind of like final. And I don't know what I'm thinking, man. You know, we'll figure it out. We'll get the lettering on there. But if the, you know, because one day I'll sell this page as original art, and the lettering is there, so you can see the whole story.
Yeah.
So yeah, page. So that's page. So page 26 will be finished, and I'll be able to start page 27. Let's take a look real quick what we have so far. I don't have anything for page 27 so far, so I'm gonna have to go back to this, and we're gonna have to take a look. Page 27 is when they're going into the shop. They're going into the actual repair shop, and this is when Trophy Girl is gonna have like a little interaction with Mr. Ike. Yeah, but they're mostly just talking about getting the van repaired and the robot repaired, and you know, going inside this little tech thing. So this is interesting, and I also have a sketchbook somewhere where I drew the repair bay. So I gotta find that so I can use that as a reference because you know, if I just do it from scratch, then it's kind of a waste. But yeah, that's where we're at.
Cool.
So what folks need to know is that if you're watching this, we have some comics for sale. I got Pearl White Malady for sale. We got Doom Magazine #1 for sale. End of the World Anthology. We also have Turbo Teaser #2 for sale. I got this reprinted, and I got copies of this too. So let us know if you're interested, and we can and get that taken care of. If not, we'll see everybody at the IC3, and we'll have all this stuff and more. You can check out our other episodes. You can binge everything. Just go to Turbo Pit Fighter on YouTube. Just look for Turbo Pit Fighter on YouTube. We come up pretty quick. And you could also see our other tabs where we have the comics that influence, where we do flip throughs and run throughs of like Command You 1 to 20, which was a lot of fun. And you can also see our creator interviews on the other tab, which we call Indie Creator Exchange. So that is going to do it for us. We will see you guys right back here next Sunday on YouTube, 10 a.m. Eastern. And if you're bored and you have Substack, go check me out in about a half an hour or an hour. I'm going to go live on Substack. I'm going to take a little break too and have a little bite, but then I'm going to be finishing the pencil of this page and talking about anything and everything. So if you want to join in that and jump in, Substack has comments too. And they even have jump on stage tools, you know, which I've done before, where somebody has a Substack account, I can just bring you right on split screen and see what you're doing. So folks, don't be shy if you're around. And otherwise, we'll see you guys 10 a.m. Eastern right here. Kurt, on the outs, anything?
Nah, I'll just see you next Sunday, Jake.
See you next Sunday. Peace in the Mideast, and see you in the funny papers, folks.